I was looking at an article here in the New York Post. It was talking about the Biden administration is urging officials to stop using the term illegal alien. But something in here caught my attention. It says in a new memorandum, the Biden administration is urging officials to use the word non-citizen instead of alien, as well as other more inclusive language choices. The Post has learned, as the White House maintains, that President Biden himself, quote, believes in the rights of illegal immigrants, as illegal aliens, to be in the country. In a missive sent to administration staffers Tuesday, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Acting Director Tracy Renaud informed her federal government colleagues of the administration's preferred terminology for key immigration topics. Other terms being replaced include illegal alien, which will be replaced with undocumented non-citizen, or undocumented individual, and assimilation, which will be replaced with integration or civic integration. That last one there caught my attention. The term assimilation is going to be replaced with integration or civic integration. So understand something. They're letting you know right now they are not done with the con job of integration. Integration, if they have their way, is about to make a comeback. Now, you cannot use this term with black people because black people have made it a forbidden term. So this word is not being used. This is not being intended for the consumption of black people. This is intended specifically for the consumption of white people talking to white Latinos. It is not in any way directed towards black people or intended for us. Not at all. And I want you all to consider a couple of things here. I want you to take a look at how gingerly and how nice they deal with everyone else. I want you to take a look at how gingerly and how nicely they deal with everyone else. Take a look at how they're treating these Latinos. Take a look at how they're treating them. When black people, if me and 4 other black males went to Home Depot today and were just standing around in front of the store, we weren't buying anything. We're just standing around waiting to see if somebody's going to offer us work or something. Don't you know they'll have the police there in 5 minutes and all of us will get rounded up, suspicious black males outside? But at damn near every Home Depot in America now, you've got illegal aliens, not even supposed to be citizens, standing around out there. I want you to consider that for a few moments. Not even supposed to be citizens, and yet there they are. Have you considered that for just a few moments? As black people, we have never been allowed, the country, the society has never allowed us to just stand around. And yet all of us have seen these people standing around all over the place, but they have never been treated the way that we have. And I'm not talking about by the government. They've never been treated by Home Depot or the private citizens. They've never been treated by the citizenry the way that we have been treated. They have never been targeted for assassination and murder and killing the way that we have. That has never occurred. Joe Biden did not go on a campaign to keep illegals out of the country. He did go on a campaign to lock up every single black man, woman, and child that he possibly could. Now that he did do. But they didn't go after anybody else. They didn't go after illegal aliens. You've never seen a campaign to do that. And they're not even supposed to be standing on the soil. They're not even supposed to be standing on the soil. Do you understand that? They're not even supposed to be standing on the soil, and they have never been treated the way that we have consistently been treated. Don't look for any help from your so-called political class, and only a fool and a baboon would be looking for help from the likes of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is all in on illegal aliens because she herself is one. Kamala Harris is here to back, quote, immigrants because Kamala Harris is one. Kamala Harris has no problem doing grievous harm and grievous crimes to black people because she identifies as an immigrant. She has no knowledge. She has no respect for the plight of black people because as far as she is concerned, she is not black. Hell, she's not even an American. She is an immigrant in her mind. As far as she is concerned, she is an immigrant, which is why she keeps talking about her family from India, her family from India, her family from India. She has made it a point to make sure that we are fully aware of who she identifies with. And I say this because I want young black people to understand that your parents sold you out before you were even born. And you were raised to believe that your goal was to chase interracial sexual access. So when I talk to young black people across this country, I get those of you who understand the threat is real, and then I get others who try to sell me on the idea that don't worry, those non-black females are interested in sex. So you start responding with hoe talk. Life and death hangs in the balance, and you are responding to me with hoe talk. Your grandparents and parents sold you out for the pathetic promise of interracial sexual access, and many of you today are still chasing that nonsense. And meanwhile, they have literally erected an ethnic cleansing state in California, in New York, in Texas, in Florida. You thought the problem was confined to just the former Confederate states. Now you're seeing it everywhere. While they've taught you that you're powerless and to narcosize yourself with the drug, some literal or some figurative, marijuana and interracial sexual access so that you can ignore the reality standing around you. Some of you are parents today, and I want you to understand that the number is high. They keep saying 11 million illegals. The number is higher than 11 million. I have traveled this country from sea to shining sea, and I have to tell you the number is higher than 11 million. They are everywhere now. They're all over the former Confederate states, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, the Carolinas, the Midwest, Missouri, Illinois. They are everywhere. This is not simply a border issue anymore. They are everywhere. They have been sprinkled and disseminated everywhere. And the entire purpose of doing that is to make sure that black people are not given our right and our due of neutralizing that black vote. This is the final solution. That black people may exist in America, but that they will be completely neutralized in America. And that is the goal now. That we exist here, but that we will be completely powerless here across the board. I have friends who live in Georgia, in Atlanta, and they got the Latinos running around there now, going door to door trying to tell black folk to sign up to help illegals. This is just how bold they've gotten, that they're going into black neighborhoods trying to recruit black people to support the cause of illegals. You have gone nowhere and seen the illegals supporting the cause of black people, but they want us to support the cause of illegals. And then as soon as you legalize them, they begin replicating the white supremacist behavior towards black people that you've seen white folk do all this time. Just as soon as you sit up here and ensure them any type of protection, they turn right around, they click up with the very white supremacists that you've been talking about. When they talk about the Capitol riots, and then I showed you all the Latinos who were there, wasn't accidental. That's not an accident. I want young black people to listen to me. The future that you are going into is more perilous than anything you've ever seen. It is more perilous than anything you have ever seen, because the bottom line now at this point is they have brought over as many people as they can. Some of them look like you. Some of them may be black-skinned. They're black-skinned but white supremacist-minded. And their goal is to flood the zone, to flood every nook and cranny of the country, so that just in case black people ever do go off on another baby boom again, and that there's this explosion of black folk being born, that they will already have a hostile non-black population waiting there, all that you're going to be born into a place that has a hostile anti-black population already in place. I've been to the Pacific Northwest. I've been to Seattle. The Asians are already thick. For those of you who don't know what's going on up there, the Asians already got that locked down. You go down to Oregon, it's meth, it's trailer parks. Ain't no place for black people, though. On down into Northern California. Northern California looks like Louisiana. Rural area, orange farms, mountains in certain areas, but no place for black folk there. Move on over. Iowa, Idaho, New Mexico, Nevada. Everywhere you go now, they're waiting on you. Where are you going to go? You're going to go to Vegas? Where are you going to go? You're going to go to New Mexico? Where are you going to go? Montana? Where are you going to go? Nebraska? Where are you going to go? Even in the places you think, you haven't even thought this over. Before you even get there, they are now filling up the states that have smaller populations. They're going to bring over these illegals. They're going to legalize these illegals and send them to these places, is what they're going to do. They're going to send them those places, and when all these places that are not major urban centers now, this is a 50-year plan being put into place that they are going to fill those areas before we even get there. Black folk talking about where they're going to go before you even get there. They're going to make sure the states that are not already full, because the East Coast is already populated. That's got population density. The West Coast, the Western Coast has population density, so it's all that flyover country in between. And they are trying to fill up those areas now. They're trying to flood those areas now with individuals who are hostile against black people and who assimilate or integrate. And understand, white supremacy doesn't care what word you use so long as it accomplishes the goal. So they can assimilate or integrate just so long as they hate on black people. That's the goal, because that is what it means to be integrated into American society. You are not fully integrated into American society until you hate blackness, and that includes for black people. As a black person, you are not integrated into American society until you have adopted anti-black sentiment of your own. You've got to not want to marry black. You have got to not want to live black, don't want to live around black people. You see, when you go to, I've been to Italian enclaves all over this country. New York, Philadelphia, Boston. I've been to Italian and Irish and German enclaves across this country. And these are not rich areas, by the way. These are not wealthy areas. But you will have a bunch of Italians, a bunch of Irish people, a bunch of Germans. They will get together and not being rich. Chinatown in New York, you go up Canal Street. That's not multi-million-dollar brand new property. That stuff is decades and decades old. But they value being around other Asians, other Chinese people. They value that. So the buildings are not expensive. They're not trying to run down to Soho. They're not trying to go to Tribeca. They want to be right there with their people. But when it's black folk, we don't consider it valuable unless or until we've gotten away from other black people. So that's integration. See, the difference between us and other people is that for black folk, you have to leave to get away from black people. All these other groups, they're already away. They ain't got to go nowhere. They can just stay where they're at. As long as they keep you out, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. The reason that the government is so focused on minor non-issues, complete non-issues, they're fabricating every non-issue they can, propping it up. LGBT, illegals, climate change. They're doing everything they can to change the subject off of discussing black people. And now it has reached absolutely comical proportions, except it ain't very damn funny. And your so-called black politicians, Sheila Jackson Lee, Maxine Waters, all the rest of them, they've joined in with it. And as black people, we have got to get serious about recognizing who is with us and then enforcing it. It is not enough to have a code. We are going to have to enforce that thing. But before you can enforce it, you first must understand why you need it. And you need it because it is now the official policy of the United States government to replace the black population, to neutralize black people's political influence, period, so that they don't, all they've been doing right now is stalling for time. Let's stall about reparations, stall about a black Marshall Plan, stall. And then once you legalize these other folks, okay, we stalled long enough. Now we don't have to discuss it at all. Now we don't have to discuss it at all. We don't have to discuss anything now. I want you all to be clear. LGBT is only about 2% of the American population. Black people are 14%. 2%. The minor concerns and inconveniences of pronouns for 2% of the population does not neutralize the unfettered brutality and murder and disenfranchisement of our rights that is being suffered by 14% of the population for 2 centuries. They don't get to leapfrog that. So why are they so concerned? Because they're telling you, oh, we can't talk about y'all right now, LGBT. People, they would talk about the California starfish if it means changing the subject off of us. And your teachers Your brainwashed, whitewashed parents. In many cases, it's your parents who are brainwashed and whitewashed. And they're not going to be there for you when you try to apply and try to get an apartment as you've come of age. And illegals can get an apartment, but you can't get one. The illegals can get a job, but you can't get one. The illegals can get a scholarship and health care, but you can't. When that sinks in, it's going to be damned depressing. And that's where you're at right now. That isn't where you're on the way to. That's where we're at right now. Right now. The next 4 years for them will be crucial and critical because they understood they slipped into the White House by the skin of their teeth. It is going to be essential and crucial that they neutralize that black population. And as I played audio for you earlier this year, where Newt Gingrich was talking about in his home state of Georgia, that what Republicans need to do is Republicans need to have more Latino outreach. So what does that tell you? That tells you that there's been a Faustian bargain made among your so-called left-wingers and right-wingers. That left-winger and right-winger is really just a con job. It's really about them saying to themselves, okay, we don't have to deal with any of these things. We don't have to deal with any of these things. Everybody else thinks it's a left-wing, right-wing situation. We're going to bring in these other people. They have agreed that Latinos can swing either way. But at the end of the day, they're going to support the historical practice of white supremacy. Why? Because when you go back to their home countries, white supremacy is already well entrenched. It's already well entrenched. That's why the only folk they want to allow over here in mass are people from places that already practice white supremacy. So the Republicans and the Democrats have agreed that Latinos are a trustworthy buffer class. They can trust them to continue and perpetuate white supremacy into the future. And the vote will be up for grabs. That's the deal that they've made. For those of you who don't know, the so-called Democrats and so-called Republicans, so-called liberals, so-called conservatives, they have agreed that the real problem has never changed. The real threat is black people. And if you are able to bring in a buffer class that identifies with your anti-black sentiments and principles, then the deal is that vote is up for grabs. This is a buffer class they can agree on. This is a filler class that they can agree on. And black people are trying to wrap their heads around, well, how is it? I mean, you turn on right-wing radio and it sounds like they're against it. But they're not. They're not against it the way that you think they are. Everybody is against big government until black people start benefiting. Then all of a sudden they love big government. Everybody is against militarization until it's time to stop militarizing black people's neighborhoods. Then all of a sudden they love militarization. They love big government. They love out of control budgets. Everybody's against waste, fraud, and abuse. Unless that waste, fraud, and abuse is being spent oppressing black people, then all of a sudden they love waste, fraud, and abuse. Everybody wants strong borders unless those borders help black people. Then all of a sudden they don't want strong borders anymore. Everybody wants open borders unless the majority of the people coming through those open borders are black. Because if the majority of those people coming from Mexico were black, you better believe they forget the damn border patrol. They would have the 10th Armored Cavalry down there. I know I'm messing those things up. They had the 182nd Airborne dropping bombs from B-52s. If it was a bunch of black people flooding across that border. That's what you have in Mexico. In Mexico, they have their military on Mexico's southern border to try to keep out them dark-skinned Central Americans and South Americans. They want to make sure they keep them out. Understand that. To the young black people listening, the U.S. is helping them to come over here because their entire goal is to neutralize black people, neutralize the black vote, outnumber you with these buffer classes that they brought in here, and then ultimately you can permanently sweep black people aside. Black people will go into permanent, we will become the I was about to say permanent underclass, but it won't even be that nice. We will become the non-citizens. Do you understand that? Their goal now is that black people will become the non-citizens. And for any idiot out there who will try to tell you, no, this guy don't know what he talking about. They can't make black folks non-citizens. Nigga, they ignore our constitutional rights every damn day. Whether it's white women like whether it's white people like Betty Shelby and Daniel Pentalio, or whether it's Latinos like Geronimo Yanez. The whites and the Latinos are all on the same page about not recognizing our constitutional rights and not recognizing our human rights. So you're not on your way to it. They are going to make these non-citizens, they're telling you that they got rights, and for black folk, they're telling us we don't have any rights. They're giving constitutional rights to people who are not even citizens, and they are denying constitutional rights to those of us who are citizens. They're doing that now. You think that's going to get better? For those of you who haven't been to New Mexico, that's a Latino state now. So it's aptly named New Mexico. New Mexico, Nevada, Arizona. It's already waiting. It's already waiting. And they're doing this because this is to be the final solution. That you are going to drown out the black population with white identifying non-black people as well as hostile anti-black non-white people. And that includes your African immigrants. I had one bush coon call in last week, as you all remember. She called up and was talking about it's not about race, it's about class. Where are you from? Cameroon. Well, Nigeria. The Cameroonian coon was on another program. But we done had Cameroonian coons and Nigerian negresses calling up here, telling us that it's not about race, it's about class. No wonder the door is wide open to them. Now, black folk in Africa who've been fighting white supremacy, they ain't letting them in. So what you've got right now is a coon immigration policy. As long as they're anti-black, that's all they gotta be. That's all they gotta be. As long as you're against black people, that's all you have to be. You don't have to be anything else. You just have to be against us. That is why there is this obsession with promoting as many illegals as they possibly can, because they understand this is the strategy for neutralizing black people. And the coast will finally be clear for white supremacy. At long last, it'll be clear, and they will have gotten away with the biggest, most atrocious crime in human history. That's the goal now. That's their goal today. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll see about opening up the telephone lines. This is the Black Channel.
Within us is a powerful spirit, a God-given spirit. It's a spirit that empowers us to oppose demonic white supremacy. A spirit that motivates us to eradicate racist lies with black truth. This spirit was alive during the rebellion of 1811. The spirit catapults us towards righteous justice. This is the spirit our opponents fear. Is the spirit of 1811 alive in you? Visit us at spiritOf1811publishing.com. Buy our novel, War of the Heart, on sale today at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Spirit of 1811 Publishing. Our story, our family.
Aliens descend upon the city and discover melanin. They notice the people. They exploit the people.
Why are you doing this to me?
Because I enjoy it. And because I can.
What type of payment do you want?
Do you see me? I have the best. I want the best. And I deserve the best.
Join us for the new drug you can find on YouTube at The Urban Gods, spelled with a Z, channel on YouTube.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority, and I'm broadcasting to you tonight on a very somber note about this, because this is what we've been warned about. This is what the prophets predicted. This is what we've been told about, from Marcus Garvey to Malcolm X to Dr. Claude Anderson to Dr. John Henry Clark. We have been warned, we have been warned, we have been warned, and we have been told. Your parents sold you out. And for those of you who are still kissing the asses of the olders, because you can't call them elders, who did not do anything to help you, just understand you're going to be paying the price. They set you up, they left you sitting ducks, and now you will be paying the price for it. A decade ago, I called it in California and said that California, when I talked about the 9 places that black people should not live, I said the entire state of California. And now you can bear me witness on that. And it's going to be others. Florida, Texas. Texas is going to be white supremacists, and it's going to be white supremacist whites and white supremacist white identifiers. And that's what you're dealing with now. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. You are, of course, as always, welcome to join us. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal or Cash App. Thank you very much to Mandiza. Thank you very much, man. We appreciate that. Hakeem, my man Brian E., as always, every week. Thank you for that, brother, as well. And thank you to everyone who has supported tonight's program, because lip service is not service. So let's go ahead and see who we got here. Let me get caller from area code 770. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Caller from area code 770, you're on live.
How you doing tonight?
Caller from 770 is hitting the pipe. Caller from area code 469, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's John from Dallas.
John from Dallas, what's on your mind?
So two things. One thing is that there seems to be an inevitability, and it's going to force us to not rely on population numbers, but rely on an economy, which, while we will be in deep trouble, I think that enough of us are going to build to where we'll make it through. Second thing I want to mention is I've been around these Latino circles, and strangely enough, they're not really celebrating this. They're not celebrating the Steffi's Pastor DACA. They're not celebrating the new influx of asylum applicants. What their focus fired on is the fact that they have these detention centers, primarily the child detention centers, that they're reopening under Biden. To me, of course, I don't think that's going to affect us. That's not going to benefit us either way. But to me, it seems like they're opening that kind of as a warning shot to those who are coming across the border, as saying, you either play ball or you got a special place for y'all. What do you think? That's all.
I mean, that's the way it works. White supremacy has the open hand and the clenched fist. And it always, always, always reserves the right to snatch a knot in its subjects' asses and show them that, by the way, if you get out of line, we got boots for asses. And don't think that I won't do you just like Trump will. If you get out of line, I can pull out all the stops. So no, don't ever get it into your head that you gonna run the thing if we got anything to say about it. So absolutely, this is the open hand and the clenched fist. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 347. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, how you doing? This is Brenda from New York.
Brenda from where at New York?
Yes.
Yes, Brenda from where at in New York?
Staten Island.
Brenda from Staten Island, what's on your mind?
So I'm wondering, what can we do about the influx of all these illegals that will be coming into this country? I mean, as citizens, what can we do? Do we just sit back and allow it to happen? Or
okay, well, the first thing that you do is you have to have what we're doing here now. Because understand, Roland Martin ain't going to talk about this, by the way. So if you want to know why they're the dead black media, Roland Martin, Michael Eric Dyson, Tom Joyner, while he's sitting up here in his Hawaiian shirts on his lame-ass cruise, they're not going to talk about this. So this is why we have the new black media and black folk are listening to this. And more black people are becoming aware, which is why these forces are becoming more desperate to try to accelerate things as quickly as they can. But first and foremost, we as a group have to be on code. We as a group have to be on code, which is what we're trying to do here. This is a national education effort, and we're trying to get black folk as a group. And that doesn't mean every single black person, but as a group, we need to be on code to recognize what is in our interest and what is not, so that when folks try to pull that con job or pulling on our heartstrings, talking about promoting their interests, that we always reflexively respond with, wait a minute, how is helping you in my interest? Because you only do what's in your interest. How is helping you in my interest? Because all I've seen is how it's been detrimental. And that's how we approach everything is, wait a minute, is this in our interest, or is this somebody trying to get something that's in their interest and that's actually against ours? Second, once you have a code about it, then when you start taking actions, including political, even at the local level, because remember, these sanctuary cities, that's not a federal initiative. That's local. So when Keisha Bottom B is sitting out here talking about making Atlanta a sanctuary city. Okay, it's a sanctuary city for Latinos. Meanwhile, black folk are getting gunned down at the damn Wendy's. Literally. So when your local politicians start talking to you crazy, you start responding to it properly because as a group, you are on code. And then last but certainly not least, we continue the process of building an economy for ourselves, because marching in the streets and voting only has a limited effect. It doesn't matter if you keep voting for all the black politicians you want, if none of you have any economic resources to build your neighborhood and build your city, then what exactly are you voting for? Because politics is the organized practice of determining how to divide up a society's resources, starting with the money. But if you have no money, then what are you voting on? What are you voting for? Y'all are just getting together having a lodge meeting, but you're not actually voting for anything. So you've got to have the economics as a component. And understand also, all this might seem very, very negative, and a good bit of it is, but on the other hand, I tell you all as well, this is good. Hate to tell you that, but this is good. I'll explain why. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Folks, what it is unfortunately there's this hard-headed contingent from the civil rights era, and they have infected a lot of Generation X and millennials to carry on their coonery and buffoonery and their butt-kissing of folks who hate their damn guts. Young black people are smart enough not to really kiss the ass of people who hate your guts. But old black folk, they consider that to be they consider that to be a mark of honor. That's a mark of pride. To be able to sit up here and have people who hate your damn guts, and you sitting up here smiling in their face, and then you tell yourself that your cowardice is powered by some superior moral authority. Well, geez, I'm overcoming them, as Malcolm X said, overcoming them with my capacity to love. They are brutal white supremacists, but I'm overcoming them with my capacities to love. That's what I'm doing. Understand that as black people in America, you don't have the ability to have that kind of nonsense. And as young black people, they've sold you on a lie that you can't really live under. They've left the field and left you hanging. And you're out here trying to practice minority solidarity. Black folk used to have big numbers over other groups. Now we're outnumbered in a bunch of states. Not by white folk anymore, but by Latinos and Asians. We're outnumbered in a bunch of states. So your parents had the luxury of talking stupid and talking crazy about these things. You don't have that luxury. Your generation doesn't have it. They squandered that from you. Caller from area code 678, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Margot, and I'm calling from Duluth, Georgia.
Margot from Duluth, Georgia. Been through there many times. What's on your mind?
When you mentioned earlier in your broadcast about them knocking on the doors to get us to vote for immigration, it's not just the Hispanics, but it's also the Asians.
Yes, that's why Andrew Yang was there in Georgia talking about, you can really say that Asians won Georgia for Biden. This man, if you don't pack up on your high horse and ride the hell out of here. But yes, you're absolutely right. While we're sitting up here focused on tennis shoes and Negroes at Lenox Mall buying silk camisoles, this is what's happening out here on the streets. We don't have time to bull jive around. We don't have that. We don't have the luxury of doing that. So no, it is not simply confined to the Latinos. What they found is that a lot of black folk are either asleep at the wheel or still subscribing to the simple-minded ignorance of integration and loving all peoples and the minority coalition. And they're hoping that we'll be stupid enough to keep backing this minority coalition that don't do a damn thing to back us. As a matter of fact, as far as Asians are concerned, they're trying to bolster white supremacy and deconstruct anything that even looks like black empowerment. Shout out Peter Liang. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 651. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Jason, how you doing? It's Frank from St. Paul, Minnesota.
Frank from St. Paul, what's on your mind?
Hey, man, I haven't talked to you in a while, man. Again, your broadcasts are life-changing. Just a little soliloquy here, and you tell me what you think. Just at this point, with this Biden administration, I'm seeing nothing that the Trump administration, already hasn't did or wasn't going to do in the situation that they were in. Especially when you look at the whole Biden administration agenda, But my thing is to you, and you just tell me what you think about this. You know, considering all these groups, I mean, when it comes down to just the cultures that we have on top of the totem pole above us, just seeing how the situation is, and seeing, of course, you know, how, you know, this Democratic, you know, this whole crap with, Kamala Harris. What do you think as far as, is there a group in particular that we just have to overcome right now? Or again, is it just about building that economic wealth at the base level where we can just attack our own city councils? And you just go ahead and tell me what you think.
Okay, well, the real thing is that we have to understand as black people, it's not a single strategy. We're looking for a silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. It's a cocktail. It's an armory. It's not a one size fits all. So that's why I was saying to the previous caller, she asked, what do we do? That's why I named 3 things. So it's not one single thing. It's all of the above. It's all the above. We're not going to have a simple-minded solution to this. We're going to have to get on our square on all the dimensions. Why? Because we're being attacked on all dimensions. We are being attacked first and foremost socioeconomically, but we are also being attacked politically. We're being attacked academically, and we're being attacked socially. We have to respond on all these fronts. When you have a common code, then that is going to rule how you respond, whether you're attacked physically, economically, socially, academically. The code is going to determine how you respond to it. So no matter what tactic they use, you've already got a proper framework to respond. So the answer is all of the above. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 434. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Sid calling from Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, get closer to your phone, whoever you are. We can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. This is Sid from Richmond, Virginia.
Sid from Richmond, Virginia. What's on your mind?
I guess I got 2 different questions. They might be a bit related to each other. First question is, if the Democrats are like just the left wing or the Dixiecrats or whatever you want to call them are afraid of this like upcoming backlash, as you, Professor Black Troop, has said, how much faith in this plan do they really have if they're so afraid of it and they're so scared?
How much faith in what plan? What are you talking about?
The plan to flood us with all the buffer groups.
Okay, I'm not 100% certain what you mean. Whose plan are you referring to?
Just like the Democrats' plan.
Okay, and how much faith does who have in it?
The Democrats and their plan to try to drown black people out.
You're asking how much faith do they have in it?
Yeah, since they seem to be
okay,
really,
the last 30 days hasn't been enough of an answer?
I suppose not. I mean, I guess the second question, maybe it's related to the first one, is does it seem like we're on our? I mean, I know, considering how bad it already is. For
okay, what's your question?
Right now,
let me find out exactly what is your question.
Does it seem like? I guess, can you come from your prediction? Are we going to be that, like you said, the permanent underclass? Are we responding fast enough to?
In the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, if we don't do something in some areas, because we're already in that situation in a lot of states now, so this is not something that will just happen in one day. It's not like if we don't do something by the year 2040, then we will be a permanent underclass. We're already in that position now in California. We're already there now. We're already in that position now in Oregon. We're not on our way. We're already there. So this is something that is bleeding across the country. We're already in that situation now in southern Florida, in central Florida, the Panhandle, what they call southern Alabama out there. That's really the only area where black folk really still got any type of hold on anything, or Fort Lauderdale, which is where you got to live if you can't afford to be in Miami. So It's already bleeding its way into a bunch of areas. So it's not something that it's not as simple as, okay, if you don't do something by 2040, you're done, or by 2050, you're done. We're already done in a bunch of places. It's already bled. As far as the end game nationally, there's no real way. You can't put a date on that. You put circumstances on that. And you have the Black channel here to let you know, hey, CNN's not going to tell you that the game is over because they're the ones trying to bury us. That's why I'm telling you, hey, the game is over in these other areas here. And a lot of the other states that Black folk think they're going to find sanctuary in, the game is on its way to being over there too. If we sit up here and prioritize cell phones, tennis shoes, gratuitous, reckless sex, and other idiocy. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 224. You're on live with the Black channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Mr. Black. This is Jason. Is Mason from Chicago?
Okay, Mason from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yeah, sorry. I had to ask you, and I meant to ask you a while ago, like months ago, maybe even a year ago. But what are the 9 places that Black people shouldn't be living in?
Okay, well, I went over that really for the most part a decade ago. I was naming the cities that they shouldn't be in. Naming the cities where basically no Black people should be at there. And to be totally honest with you, I'm going to have to update that. I'm really going to have to update that because really right now, it's no longer cities. It's no longer that. Black people as a group are really done. At this point right now, I'm going to have to update that to be whole states is what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to really update that to be whole states because that's really where we're at right now. So I'm very glad you said that. I think I'm going to update that to make that states. I think I'm going to update that to make that. So everybody be looking for that. I'm very glad you mentioned that. I think I'm going to update that. Thank you very much for giving us a call. I don't want to ruin that right now. For those of you who remember all the places there, that's fine. But I don't really want to go into that because if I start naming off the cities again, that is going to be, that's going to sit up here. If I sit up here and say, Denver, Black people are done. If I sit up here and just say those individual cities, and I don't even want to say the individual cities now because take a look at what will happen if I do that with, Baltimore. I don't want to do that. DC, I don't want to do that. Because then I really want to broaden it now because that really needs to be updated. I no longer believe that simply naming cities is enough anymore. I think we need to really update this in its entirety. Let me get a caller from area code 585. You're on live with the Black channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Jackie in Rochester, New York.
Hello, Jackie in Rochester. What's on your mind?
I know how you detest people getting off the topic, but please allow me a very short sidebar. Biden has dropped the nigger word. Full out nigger.
Okay, well.
I listen to talk radio.
Well, I wouldn't be too surprised. I wouldn't be too surprised about that, Jackie. The real thing right now is he's your president now, and that's not illegal. And you have a lot of Black folks that it doesn't matter. Joe Biden can sit up here and have a campaign speech talking about, you know what? I want to say what's up to all my niggers out here. And you're going to have a bunch of old Black folks sitting out there dancing with him. So in reality, at where we are right now, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of that really wouldn't even be that big of an issue at this point right here where we're at today. This is what I mean. He's already your president. What can you do about it? Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 313. You're on live with the Black channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Michelle from Detroit.
Michelle from Detroit. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to mention the fact that with the illegal aliens coming into the country, how obviously you talk about all the time how they're here to kind of just wash out the Black vote and to have us be an underclass. But I also want to mention that a lot of Black people, especially here in Detroit, they don't pay attention to how many Mexicans or illegal aliens are in the United States. I took a visit to San Antonio, Texas this past summer, or the summer before the last, and I talked to a whole bunch of Latinos, and they consider themselves white. Like in Detroit, everybody's black. If you're not white, everyone's black. Chaldeans, Arabs, everyone, right? But
no, that's not true. That's not true. I don't know who told you that lie, but that's not true.
Well, no. What I mean is that everybody understands their place when it comes to white people here.
That's not true either. So no, ma'am, I meant what I said the first time. Were you under the delusion? How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, have you been operating under the delusion that the Mexicans up there in Mexican Town, and I've been there, and that the Arabs up there somehow are not white identifying? Because that's what you just said. You just said that everybody's up here. If you're not white, you're black.
I know. Yeah, no, I don't consider them thinking that they're black or any of that. But what I'm saying is it's a different cultural...
You literally just said those words. Are you trying to... Let's try this again, because now you're trying to backtrack yourself. You need to just admit that that's what you've been operating under. You've been operating under the misnomer that those non-black groups up there somehow identify as something other than white. That's what you've said several times now, and you're really just rewording it. So let me take this as an opportunity to correct you. No, ma'am, you are wrong. That is incorrect. None of those groups identify as black, and none of them truly identify as non-white. No, they do not. This is why I keep saying when you have these white supremacist and white supremacist identifying groups, because here's the real issue. The real issue becomes once you ask any of these other groups how they feel or respond to black people, because that's the litmus test. Black people are the litmus test. You don't see any of these groups advocating any type of camaraderie with us. All of a sudden, they all start talking and sounding exactly like the so-called white folk that they supposedly are not identifying with or identifying as. But as soon as you ask any of those groups you were just trying to say, well, they all black up here. As soon as you ask them about black folk, they start talking like the white folk do. So what you're saying is categorically wrong. That is categorically a fallacy. No, ma'am. The Latinos in Mexican Town up there in Detroit act and feel exactly the way the ones in San Antonio, El Paso, San Bernardino, San Diego, Stockton. It is the same everywhere. We need to get this out of our heads that somehow geography changes it. Because the problem is, and I'm just going to be honest about this, unfortunately, a lot of black people and a sad number of black women are not holding the line on that. They start associating with other groups and then start giving passes. And we got to get that nonsense out of our systems. We ain't giving no passes. We're not sitting up here trying to enculturate and, well, let's get them a little bit of time and they feel bit. I mean, I worked around some of them over there and they ain't all like them folks over there. No, that's not true at all. Period. No, it is not. So if you were operating under that misnomer, I'd like to take this as my opportunity to correct that. No, ma'am. They are the same. It is the same everywhere you go.
Right. Well, that is true. Yeah, I don't think that they're trying to identify with us. I know how nasty they can be, because my second comment was going to be the fact that I work in corporate America, and there's a lot of Latinos that have management jobs, and they are very contrite and very nasty to black people. So it's not just they're working jobs that no one else wants to do. No, they're working at Coca-Cola, big companies, and they treat black people like how, second-class citizens. So just wanted to make that note. It's not just
thank you. It's the same but it's also the same everywhere you go. It is not a distinction between Detroit and San Antonio. It is all the same. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, folks. See, what happens is a lot of black folk try to get really clever and get really smart and really try to figure out some way of diluting the issue and watering it down and trying to minimize it. And well, I mean, it ain't really that bad. I mean, up here where I'm at, they cool. You know, they cool up here. But when I went down there to Texas, man, they different down there. They don't understand down there. No, you're the one who doesn't understand. You're the one who doesn't get it, and you're the one who doesn't understand. Caller from area code 516. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. My name is Patrick. I'm calling from Hempstead, Long Island.
Okay, Patrick from Hempstead. What's on your mind?
Well, you know what? A couple of days ago, I was talking to one of these civil rights generation failures, you know, about gentrification. And I did see your great documentary, by the way, Gentrified. And I'm in Hempstead right now, Hempstead, Long Island, and I've been living here for 36 years. And when I first came here 36 years ago from Brooklyn, Hempstead was all black, okay? But now, within the last 10 years, Hempstead is now 70% Latino. And that's the same thing for Roosevelt, which is right nearby. Roosevelt was all black. That's where Public Enemy's from. That was all black. Well, now Roosevelt is like 70% Latino. And Freeport was mostly black. Now that's mostly Latino. All these black towns. Uniondale was all black. Now that's mostly Latino. And, you know, this civil rights generation failure that I was talking to, I was like, you know, civil rights generation people really screwed us big time, especially, you know, following Martin Luther King too, because Martin Luther King was the one who wanted all these immigrants up here too. So we could thank him also for this failure.
Okay,
I
well,
really wish black people
at this point right now, I think a lot of those
King.
things were open to that, but at this point right now, I think that we really, as black folk, especially for those who are not a part of the civil rights generation, we really need to understand that what we do now is going to be the most important thing. The old folks are on their way out. This is their last desperate gasp for relevance. And I'm really at a point where for the young people, I just want them to understand how they've been failed. But I don't want any of the rest of us to waste our time or whatever wagging our finger at the olders and the failures. I want to defeat them. I'm not interested in debating them. I want to stop them. I want to end their insanity and retire it and sacrifice it on the altar of history. But I don't really want us to get involved in really giving them an audience, as it were, or whatever. What those bastards did, they can't fix. They have ruined something that they cannot fix. All we can really do at this point is make sure we identify who the evils are, make sure it's very, very clearly outlined, and then we go from there. But I would admonish everybody, don't really waste a lot of equity on giving them a voice on things, because they failed, they broke something they can't fix. And when you have somebody who is that reckless, the only thing that they're really good for is discarding. And we have to get better at discarding our trash. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 901. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's good, King? My name is Argentris from Memphis, Tennessee.
All right. Did you say Argentris?
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. What's on your mind?
First of all, I want to thank you for that IT workshop that you did on the business. If anybody ain't checked it out, please go check it out. I'm working on my A+ certification right now. But back on subject, what black folks need to do is start worrying about all black people, because everybody ain't gonna make it. Like my guy Dr. Ben once said, everybody's not gonna make it. We need to only focus on the black folks that's trying to do something for black people. They're trying to get black people going in the right direction. Not everybody's, let's wait for the white people. Let's help out the Mexicans. Let's help out this. Let's vote for him. Let's vote for them. No, we ain't got time for that. We tried that in the civil rights era, and the same thing they were talking about in 1965. We talking about, 45 years later? It's crazy.
Well, I mean, you make a very good point there. I mean, we have to get to a point where we recognize everybody who's ready to ride is ready to ride. The only thing I have the Black channel for, this is just a lighthouse so that everybody who's on code can come together. But this is not about arguing with them about this, that, and the other. The only reason why I even entertain those types of phone calls is simply to illustrate the absurdity of it. So if there's, especially for the young folk, because right now today, and you understand this, young people today, their parents are supposed to be preparing them for a world of white supremacy. And the average black parent today ain't doing a damn thing to prepare their child. They're not doing a damn thing to teach them about white supremacy. They're not doing a damn thing to teach them about racism. The civil rights generation accepted white supremacy, and Generation X really has tried to ignore it, which really isn't a better option. So I created the Black channel, so hopefully some of these young black people and those of you who got some sense can talk to them about it and whatnot, at least in some type of introductory way. But for the most part, this is about gathering the people who are already on code and already together and whatnot and riding, because we've reached that 10% critical mass. We really have. We reached that 10%. But the real issue now is to keep that momentum going so that the 10% becomes the 50%. And that's going to be a heavy lift. So the harder we pull, the sooner we do it, the better. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 703. You're on live with the Black channel. What's your name? Where you're calling from?
Hey, Jason. How you doing? It's Larry from Woodbridge, Virginia.
Larry from Woodbridge. What's on your mind?
Great topic. Greatly appreciate everything that you do. All I have to say is, I grew up in Northern Virginia. And one thing I could say is from 2000 to 2021, I've seen the Hispanic community not only quadruple, but they've actually built their own economies. What is it going to take for African Americans to start working with each other and trusting each other? And as you say, to get more than 5 or 6 black people to actually get together and build something that's worthwhile? What is it going to take? Because it looks like this is the last stand for us. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, in many ways, you are correct about that. But then again, I have to remind you all that this is good. I am sad to say this, but unfortunately, black people as a group have not adopted a proactive stance on anything and a proactive mentality about dealing with our problems. Black people as a group have been reactionary, not action-oriented, but reaction-oriented, and even then been slow to do so. We live in a system where they reward coonery, they reward deception, they reward treachery. So if you're a black person who's against other black folk, you can get rewarded for that. Now, if you're a white person who is against white supremacy, you get punished. But if you're a black person who is against other black people, undermining other black people, sabotaging other black people, I mean, you can get a record deal, you can get a movie contract, you can get a television commentatorship. I mean, you can get rewarded for doing that. So there are incentives to being a black person who undermines the cause of other black people. There's incentives at the local level, the state level, the federal level, the international level. There's incentives. We're in a rare position. As an Asian person, you don't really get rewarded for undermining other Asians. You don't get there is no reward system for doing that. As a Latino, there is no reward system for undermining other Latinos. There's no reward system for being an Arab who undermines other Arabs. There's a reward system actively in place to give you rewards and merits if you're a black person who undermines other black people. So what does this mean has to happen? Unfortunately, what it means is that black people are going to have to be maneuvered into a life or death situation. Because what we've demonstrated is black folks as a group didn't nationally organize until after Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown. It took a life or death situation. Then after George Floyd, it takes a life or death situation. Then when Donald Trump's in the White House, it takes a life or death situation. And it shouldn't require that. We should be proactive all the time. Unfortunately, we are not. But that's the reality that we live in. So in the world that we are in, just recognize that this type of crisis can ultimately serve our purposes. Because if black people have made, as a group, have made it very clear that if you don't put them in a life or death situation, they're going to try to ignore it. Even if you show it to them, they're going to try to ignore it, because most black people have been become cowed into pathetic cowardice, and they're just going to bow down. And what you need to do is make the situation so outrageously uncomfortable and so outrageously detrimental that it becomes okay, you're going to stand up or you're going to perish. And that's pretty much where we at right now. We're pretty much going in that situation right now. And it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate, that black people as a group have to deal with this. Because I don't like that either. But brother, that's the circumstances we find ourselves in. That's where we're at. We're in a situation where, it's not like we're on planet Black and the coons are off on Mars somewhere. Unfortunately, they're right here with us. But you know what? Black people who are dedicated to intelligence, dedicated to leadership, dedicated to excellence, we are ultimately going to be all right. We always have been. This is going to be a time of transition and a time of change, but we are ultimately going to be all right. But we are going to have to understand the severity of the threat, and we are going to have to take the threat seriously. All the black folk who don't, they're going to end up on the evening news talking about loudy. Because I want you to understand something. These Latinos come from places where the police murder folk with impunity now. I want you to understand that. These folk they're bringing over here and whatnot, they come from places where the police murder political opposition with impunity now. You understand what I mean?
Yes, indeed, sir.
Okay.
That's the God's honest truth.
Well, I'm going to let him get back to chewing his corn nuts. But in any case, they come from places where people are practicing white supremacy and where the police murder folk with impunity now. So, of course, the Los Angeles Police Department has no problem hiring them. They got no problem hiring them. Because they're like, oh, you already understand the deal. For those of you who saw my documentary, Race War, Judge Joe Brown broke that down for you. That they've always recruited from places that have anti-black sentiments already. That's where they go to recruit. They go there. So as black people, if you are not going to understand that, and if you are not going to accept that, just understand at this point right now, they're surrounding you. Asian cops, Latinos, white citizens. They've deputized the citizens, and you sitting up here telling yourself, well, if they ain't white, then they's black like me's. All right. You can go dance your Amos and Andy jig on that one if you want to. Try it. Caller from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Caller from 646 has been abducted. Caller from area code 936. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, this is Jalen Jordan. Jalen calling from Madisonville, Texas.
Jalen from Madisonville, Texas. What's on your mind?
So I was calling in regards to the coonery that my uncle displayed. Because, there was a family scholarship that I was supposed to get awarded, but, he gave it to this Latina chick. And I just wanted to know your thoughts about that.
Okay, it sounds like you need to disown your uncle. Y'all have got to let them old. I've tried to warn you all for years and whatnot. Those of you in your 20s and whatnot, y'all got to watch these old niggas.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about.
I'm 17.
Okay, but I'm not talking about the ones across the street. Not talking about the ones around the corner. Not talking about the ones at somebody else's house or some other block. Right there in your family. Right there at the table for Thanksgiving. Around the presents for Christmas. Right there at the family reunion. Right there at your high school graduation. Y'all got to watch these old niggas. I said it and it was ultra controversial and nobody wanted to touch it when I said it. Now it's being adopted widespread. You know why? Because it was the truth. You all have got to watch these old niggas. You can't count on them for anything. You got to get together with other young cats like yourself and understand these old niggas ain't built nothing for you. They still chasing interracial sexual access. They're never going to give that up because he ain't built a damn thing. Y'all got to do for self at this point. I'm sorry to say that. But that's the reality that you are in. You can't count on none of these old niggas. Your uncles, your aunties, y'all can't count on none of them. Forget about that. And you should be able to assume that you can. But unfortunately, because the Generation Coon has been out here for so long, you don't have that option, unfortunately. So the sooner you accept that reality, the sooner you can actually make some real, concrete, positive changes in your life. But I'm glad you saw this early. You can't. He was not an aberration. He wasn't some abnormality. He wasn't some outlier or some exception to the rule. He is the rule, and you will see this for the rest of your life. And I don't want you to ever forget what you learned at 17, that you cannot trust these old niggas. And by you adopting that attitude, you will be able to establish a generation of older black men who can be respected because you remember the mistakes that were made by trash like him. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 310. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason. This is TG out of Los Angeles. How you doing this evening?
TJ out of Los Angeles. What's on your mind?
Man, I grew up on the west side of Los Angeles, and I'm, from Cali. I got to say straight out, with all due respect, I reject the fact that California's lost, not on the facts, not on the evidence, just on faith right now, just on hope. You know what I'm saying? Out here grinding, but the fact that you're getting us focused on economics is something that I'm seeing as the weakness of our group, because I work with a couple organizations, and every time I try to bring up an economic strategy that actually brings money to the table, they reject it. They attack it. They want to just float and talk about, spirituality and, your chakras. And I'm just like, yo, we got to eat before we can worry about our chakras. They want
to talk about intangibles. They want to talk about things that you cannot measure. Debating history is something you cannot measure. You can't measure debating history. You can't, because when they talk about history, that's an opinion. You can't disprove an opinion. You can disprove a fact, but you can't disprove an opinion. And what has happened is that black people have used endless, useless pontificating and debating as a intellectual substitute for actual action. That's sitting around in a circle having a cipher and discussing intangibles about a bunch of stuff you can't do, that's an actual substitute. And then they elevate it to a religious realm, and now they're worrying about the afterlife is now actually concrete action, and that's been a lie that we've been sold on since slavery and whatnot. So you have to recognize those kind of things. As far as California is concerned, as a place, as a group, California is done for black people. Our opportunities were squandered. San Francisco, Oakland, the Bay. I mean, you do have some pockets, South Central Los Angeles, you got some pockets, but I'm talking about the state. I'm not talking about a pocket of people or a neighborhood or one smaller geographic area. California as a state. You take a look at California, and then you can just put a couple of thumbtacks in a couple of places. Maybe Oakland, maybe South Central. You can put a couple of thumbtacks. All right, I'll give you your thumbtacks. And now take a look at the rest of the state. We have nothing in San Diego, which is probably the fastest growing one out of all of them. And ultimately, I think it's going to become the most influential in the next 50 years. We got nothing in Sacramento. We got nothing in Stockton. We've got nothing outside of South Central Los Angeles. We have nothing in San Francisco. They've gentrified that. The job is complete in San Francisco. Black people have been completely gentrified from San Francisco. The only black folk in San Francisco today are the black retirees who haven't been removed. And when they die, white supremacy knows, well, we just wait for them to die off and they'll be done. Because we know how black folk do for passing down stuff to their heirs. We know that ain't going to happen. Or the homeless black folk. And by the way, does that sound incredibly similar to Los Angeles? Who do you got in Los Angeles? You got the older black folks or the black folks who can afford to be there. And then you got the homeless. And you got bad and what above the law say? You got bad and good and ain't nothing in between. You got the black folk who are hanging on, and then you got the black folk who are struggling. And that's it. And I'm telling y'all right now, they're letting it balloon because this is the diabolical strategy at work. They're allowing it to balloon and they're allowing it to fester because they want to trap as many people as they can. Right now, they're trying to throw that net as wide and as far as they can. They're trying to trap as much as they can and eventually be able to move them out in mass, which is the idea. And I know a lot of kids, they've already started doing that. So they've been shipping their homeless folk to other states. So California's become, like a place that just flushes its toilet and sends its refuse everywhere else. That's the plan. They're not mad at all about Joe Rogan and them leaving. The place is already overpopulated. That's the job. That's the goal, is to make California. I said this, by the way, I said this a decade also. The goal was and is what it has always been, which is that California is going to be a place where you've got the rich and the well-to-do. You got the very rich and the very poor. And the very poor will be the workforce that works for the very rich. And that's why they want to maintain that lower population. The lower population, well, you got to have a workforce for your rich folk. You got to have that because they'll be damned if they're going to do their own labor. So that's what you're going to have. And that's what you see it shaping up as. I mean, when you realize that Los Angeles has become a place where there is literally nothing you can rent if you don't make more than $17 an hour. And then they talking about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour when I literally just said to you that there's nothing for rent below $17 an hour.
Jason,
that's letting you know the game is over.
To Baja California. Mm-hmm. I was just saying, I got a friend that moved to Baja California. I got a friend that moved to Vegas. I got a friend that moved out back with their parents. Like the people moving back with their parents. I mean, it's like a once every week and a half, 2 weeks thing. Somebody's finances are not holding up. All the BS jobs, all the floating and fluffing we were doing for so long, it's coming back to bite us in the ass. And I'm telling you, I'm reaching out, Jason, and I know that I run into a couple other people, but it's not looking good. So I can't even fight you on that. If I could just ask one thing tonight, what is one thing that would make you think that there is a chance, not even that it's likely, that there's a chance? Like, what would you need to hear about California to say, California might be on the come up?
If I saw 3 or 4 Nipsey Hussles.
Okay.
If I saw 3 or that's why he was really a very bright shining light. If I saw 3 or 4 more of those, or to make it more succinct, what we were seeing developing in the late 80s and the early 90s with the Ruthless Records and the Death Row and whatnot. And I'm not necessarily saying the music industry per se, but I'm saying that type of grassroots innovation, because before you had your .coms and venture capital, you had black men selling stuff out the trunks of the cars and whatnot. So if I saw that type of dynamism, then that would be a good sign. I can't say necessarily that by itself, but if you wanted something that would be more encouraging to me, fewer churches and more black folk innovating in that way and showing that they're very, very serious about it and really dead serious about making a go of it. Nipsey didn't just talk, he was actually making things happen. He made the olders and the elders look as worthless as they were. He was about getting things done. So if I saw that occurring, if I saw 3 or 4 Nipseys, then I would have to start reconsidering. Because as far as resisting police brutality, like I say, South Central certainly did a lot to redeem itself in my eyes in the last 2 years. But by the same token, that's one place. If you're talking about the whole state, now we're going differently. But if it's going to happen, it's going to come from if it's going to happen, it's going to come from Los Angeles. Oakland, and I don't mean to diss Oakland, y'all, but I just got to say it like it is. Oakland, other than the Panthers, Oakland hasn't really done a whole lot. I mean, I just got to be honest. I'm not spitting on Oakland, but I just got to keep it real. All the real innovation and movement has really come out of Los Angeles. It's really come out of there. Oakland has really been like folks who want to retire and stuff like that. It hasn't really been a go-getter place in that way. You might be able to name one or two celebrities from there, but I'm talking about as far as the culture is concerned. Los Angeles, in the places where they got it, it's got a hustle culture to it. And I respect that. And what I'm saying is, if that were to grow roots and get a foothold, we'd be okay. By the same token, look what they did to Nipsey, though. So we have to understand just how much that they recognize how much of a danger and a threat that is. But I need black folk to get serious about that. So when you got black folk who are innovating that way, because I want to say there was a fellow, I want to say it was years ago, there was a black man, as a matter of fact, he was an entrepreneur, business owner, and I want to say he was from Shreveport, as a matter of fact. And I want to say he went out to California and got killed out there by some young fellas out there. I want to say that happened years ago. Y'all can go Google that if you want to. I want to say he was from Shreveport, my hometown, and, you know, he took the hustle out there. Because, you know, Louisiana doesn't have that type of population to support that. He took the hustle out there and whatnot, and it was going good, and he got killed out there. So what I'm saying is, black folk as a group have to defend and protect our producers. Black people as a group have to protect them. We can't just have them. We got to protect them. We got to rally around them. We got to have a citizens militia for that kind of thing. We got to understand that when the enemy sends, you know, when they send the assassins and the killers, they're going to try to find the coons within your group and send them to do the dirty work. We got to understand that that's what we're up against, and we have to take that seriously. We have to see it seriously. So if I saw that developing, that would be something that would make me reconsider. But like I say, I have to see that first. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Lavelle from LA, Los Angeles, California.
Lavelle from Los Angeles. What's on your mind?
Well, one I wanted to talk about was like the Black and so-called Latino Alliance, which is a farce. The Latino have been buying up black churches that's been in the black community for 40 to 60 years now. And these black coon preachers are actually selling the churches to these Latinos. And from my understanding, that has been
good.
Well, in a sense, it could be good.
It's not in
but
the
if black people don't have no type of real
it's
estate,
not in the
no
sense.
type of economic or
brother, I understand what you're saying, and I said this before about the churches. Brother, you have to look at it from a business standpoint, okay? You got to look at it from a business standpoint. And by that, I mean, what currently, right now, when was the last time that we got a return on our investment in the so-called black church anywhere in America?
Never.
When was the last time we actually got a return on that? So how can I consider it a loss when, in the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, when you talk about the NBA players, when they go broke and whatnot, it's like, okay, their wealth didn't help us when you had it, and it won't hurt us when you lose it. Those churches in Los Angeles, and I don't want to just single out Los Angeles because it's the same thing everywhere, to be totally honest. That's a nationwide thing. It's the same. It doesn't matter whether you're in California or Kalamazoo. It's the black church is equally useless everywhere. I've traveled this country. It's the same old preacher man hustle everywhere you go. Brother, that church wasn't helping the neighborhood when it was there. It's not going to hurt the neighborhood when it leaves. They weren't using it as a bulwark and a beachhead to help black people. You're not going to lose anything.
Right. The Latinos never hire black people. If they hire any so-called black person, it'll be like a so-called Black Latin America. I live in Los Angeles, California, but I moved out to Whittier, California, and it can be a big corporation of 200 people, shifts, morning, noon, and night, 3 shifts, 8 hours, each. I probably only see 1 or 2 black people, and those are mixed black people. They never really hire us in California. And see, black people, we need to wake up. They practice cultural, racial economics. We don't do that here. Like he said earlier, we really losing. And my point is this. In the Crenshaw Expo area, they are gentrifying, because you had a great film documentary, Gentrification, Gentrified, that they have been practicing this for so long, and we should have woken up by now, but we haven't yet. And like he said, we have to be put in a position or a condition of death in order for us to even have a clue. Not even really ideal, but we just so mentally ill. But I'm going to say this, I'm going to go. Black people, we have to practice doing for self, economics. Doing for self is our greatest asset. Doing for self. That's it.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again. Let me get caller from area code 832. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Houston, Texas. My name is Tony.
Okay, Tony, what's on your mind?
I was talking about this
now,
in the
Tony.
90s
Tony, do you actually live?
Yeah.
Do you actually live in Houston, Tony?
Yeah, I live on the south side. Yeah, south side of Houston. Okay. But it's I mean, they taking over Houston, man. It's taking over.
Okay.
It's over. It's over. It's game over here.
Well,
for the black, like you said, the black.
But here's the real issue: when you got coon niggas like Willie D, yes, I'm talking about you, silly Willie. When you got coons like him and whatnot, he making a song about coons. I'm like, Willie, you ought to be starring in your video, by the way. But them fellas ain't built nothing. They haven't done anything. That black folk have had opportunity after opportunity. We kind of just fumbled the ball. And Atlanta's going to go the same way as Houston if Atlanta doesn't change its ways. Because we sit up here and pat ourselves in the back talking about we got a black majority population in areas as if that's the end all and be all and the goal, and it's not. The goal isn't to have a black population. The goal is to have black power, wealth, and influence. Damn having population numbers.
We got a so-called black mayor.
Well, I mean, but you been had that. But you been had that. Sylvester Turner, whatever his name is, you been had that. I'm just saying, black folk as a group have sat up here and, well, if we can get a black person in office, okay, but y'all ain't got nothing. You're not building anything, and you've left the damn doors open. It is not enough to elect so-called black politicians. There must be a black agenda. And Sylvester Turner did not run on a black agenda. And since he didn't run on one, when he got into office, it was business as usual. And that's what it's been. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 305. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're on live.
B1.
Wake up.
All right, yeah, B1. Yeah, this is Ron from Miami.
Take your phone off a speaker, Ron. You're messing up already.
Hello.
What's on your mind, Ron?
Yeah, basically, man, I just wanted to say, down here in Miami, I work at UPS, bro. And I'm going to just give you a little example for what you're talking about. I work at UPS. I've been injured from a job from a work injury since April. But ever since I've been off and I've been coming back and forth to the job to check in, I noticed it's been a lot of changes lately. And I've been trying to, I've been signing up for positions, be a driver supervisor. I've just been signing up for, little positions in the job since I've been injured. But I noticed they hire more Spanish people more and more and more. And that's all you see. Like, I'm 27 and I've been working there since I was 20. And, I've been working this since I was 19 and driving since I was 21. But I noticed, though, every single time, man, they hire people, like, as far as driving in the trucks, they hire people straight off the streets.
Well, yes, that's the point.
I noticed they hire Spanish people.
Correct.
And
that's the point, and that's the goal.
They don't even speak English, bro. They don't even speak English, man.
Well, they speak the language of white supremacy.
$28 an hour.
Okay, thank you for giving us a call. They speak the language of white supremacy is what it is. They speak that language. And that's why I was telling everybody here that Jeff Bezos, who identifies as a Cuban American, I'm the son of Cuban immigrants. Okay. And then you wonder why it is out there in California and all these other cities that at your Amazon warehouses, they got the black folk working themselves to death, literally, and the Latinos are your managers. You wonder why it is that you go to work at Amazon and already the Latinos are already in a bigger position and whatnot. Well, yeah, the guy who runs the company is one of them. He's sitting there telling you, oh, I'm one of them. You're late to the damn party. Talking about you're going to fill out an application and get a job, and you're going to work for a company that's telling you, oh, by the way, and then you wonder why your managers and whatnot, why the situation shakes down the way that it does. Caller from area code 281, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, this is another Tony calling from Houston, Texas as well.
All right, another Tony from Houston. What's on your mind?
Yeah, we have two area codes, 832 and 281. Listen, Jason, this subject that you're talking about tonight, this is a subject that, quite frankly, the barn door has closed. It's already a done deal. I'm really upset and still pissed off at this recent election in which black people, primarily our sister girls, who were so enthralled and hypnotized by Kamala Harris's straight hair and light skin and the fact that she went to an HBU. I went to a white university, but it didn't make me white. But because I'm a black man. And they fought tooth and nail to get her elected because she was one of them. All right, black people. It's 35 days or so into the Biden administration. Old Jim Crow will not have a $15 an hour federal minimum wage. Joe Biden will not reduce student loan debt. Joe Biden attacked Syria the day before yesterday, and the media hardly reported on it. Because after all, they told you that your problem was Donald Trump. They really loved you. Of course, Kamala Harris said she's not going to do anything for black people, but we can just ignore that. They still haven't given the lady, the woman from Georgia, I can't even think of her name on the top of my head, the one who fought tooth and nail to claim it was Georgia women that got them elected. They haven't returned her call for a janitor's position in the Capitol. But they can bring in and open the borders to all of these people. Nobody says a word.
Well, you know who else isn't saying a word? All the women who voted for Biden. You can't, like I said, I've been, ever since the election, I've been calling them out and saying, hey, y'all need to line up, come stomp and brag and talk about how great it was. And the real killing thing about it is Biden covered his ass. It seemed like a bad thing, but he covered his ass because by making Kamala Harris his vice president, he was able to let her go out, and when he fails to deliver anything, she's the one who's going to take the brunt of it. Because black folk are going to be like, okay, the idiots who voted for her thinking this Asian, self-identifying Asian is, quote, one of us, when it doesn't happen, when she doesn't return your phone calls. Biden isn't going to return your phone calls, but Kamala ain't working. She's made it very clear, I ain't working behind the scenes to do nothing. So that working behind the scenes and will just give her time, that lie that black folk told themselves with Obama, she's not even, she's not even allowing that one to be told this time. They're not even allowing the option for that to be told this time. He's just hung her out to dry, knowing full well that she's going to suffer she was and she is suffering all the political fallout from this. She's suffering all of it.
One more thing. Another L that they've taken, not to interrupt you very quickly, schools will not reopen as he promised once again to follow the science, because after all, it was Trump that didn't follow the science. But he'll follow the science until the teachers union told him to go take a flying leap out the window. We're not going back to school. So he said, well, I really didn't mean it like that. One day a week would be good. They lied to you black folks. Take your head out of social media. Take your head out of the sports pages. Take your head out of Cardi B and all the rest of them, and learn the politics of this country. Because if you don't, I agree with you, Jason. We're on the train that the Jews were on the train. And it was a one-way trip. Ask them about that.
Well, like I say, at this point right now, it really is, as I've always said, it's going to be between the black folk who are smart. The smart will survive, the dumb will perish, and that's just it.
Yes.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, all the Kamala butt kissers, you can't find any of them now. Ain't none of them standing up to say anything. Amazing. Caller from area code 202. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Davis calling from Seattle. How you doing?
David calling from Seattle. What's on your mind?
Everything you talk about is absolutely true. I have to add one thing. Race in this country undergirds everything. Undergirds wealth, undergirds providence, undergirds earners, everything. I'm a huge, huge earner. But I realize that the government has certain things, policies in place for hiring people of color versus black people.
Were you asked to call in?
I don't remember being asked to call in.
Okay.
I'm the one that said I need to call in. No, I don't know if someone asked me. But
have you called me? Have you called me before?
No.
Okay. You say that you're a big earner.
Yes.
Okay.
And all my employees are black, and none of my employees under $45,000 a year. The financial services, which financial big companies use to hire minorities, but they don't hire blacks. Are hired through temp services. So this 50,000 jobs are through temp services, but they rotate black people around. I put it into that and hired them on and got sanctioned. So I'm telling you, there is no out but to either fight or move. I've already got my stuff in play. I got to pick the country where blacks aren't in charge. And abroad, I'm not going to say where it is. A lot of my people are moving. When they can't, I'm cashing them out a yearly salary before the year is up.
Well,
but what you're saying is absolutely positively correct.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I like to be correct about that kind of thing. He was asked to call in for something else, but thank you very much for saying that we're correct. We appreciate that. Let me get a caller from area code 936. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is James calling out of Lufkin.
James out of Lufkin. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Lufkin, Texas, by the way. The way I see it is with these Latinos, I see them as political puns for the Democrats. I agree with you about everything. They are here to replace us. They have done it in California. They're trying to do it here in Texas. They come across this border and are very comfortable. The first night here, you think that they would be hiding out or something. No, they go straight to a bar. They go straight to a Mexican club. And black people need to wake up and understand that we have no allies. These people are not our friends. They're here to replace us. They already have an economy. They will not support us or anything like that. And we need to be supporting the black media. We need to be supporting black businesses. The black media is one of our largest think tanks, and they give us a foundational way of thinking. We need to not completely unplug from mainstream media, pay attention to what they're doing and saying in the mainstream media, but the black media is where we get our sources from. That's what I got to say, Jason.
Well, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do call us again. Let me get caller from area code 410. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is T from DC.
T from DC. What's on your mind?
I want to tell you that not all of us Africans, people from the continent, are coons or or buck dancers or anything. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the older generation, the ones who are cooning and buck dancing.
No, I'm afraid I can't say that,
brother. It's not like that. I swear
afraid I
God,
can't. Okay,
like
brother.
that.
I meet and have met plenty of black folk who are not older. So yes, while I said at the beginning of the program, no, it is not. There you do have some pro-black folk who do come from Africa, but what they are allowing over here is not, and what has been really cultivating over there isn't. And anybody who disputes that, just ask all the Chinese, the Russians, the Portuguese who are flooding all over the place over there now, and they hoisting them up on their damn shoulders, making them tribal chieftains, and yet they're approving citizenship for Asians and not for black folk from America. So sorry, brother, that just does not square with the reality that we're currently living under.
look, I'm more worried about here in America and what we can do for our people here. The second generation Africans, the ones who were born and raised here, they don't have that Akata mentality or whatever, the anti-black, anti-ADOS, anti-FBA mentality.
Sorry, brother. I wish I could say that. I wish I could say that were true also. I think you're speaking for yourself and your circles, and I'm glad to hear that. Unfortunately, no, we're not able to say that. I think that's a wonderful ideal. I certainly think it's a worthy ideal. And that's the whole reason for us self-identifying ourselves, is so that we can make sure that we come from the position that other people are going to have to embrace Pan-Africanism. We've already set the standard. We're not going to embrace it for anyone who doesn't embrace it for us. But that's just simply not the case. Where are you from? Wait a minute. Now, backing up here for just a few moments here. Where do you live at currently?
I live in the D.C. Baltimore metro area.
Okay. That area there, like I say, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been up to New York. Maybe you should take some time to go up there. I don't know if you've been to Minnesota. Maybe you should take some time to go up there. If you do, you're going to see what I talk about, and it's not going to take very long. Hell, but you ain't even got to do that. All you got to do is go to Facebook or Twitter, and it's very, very clear there. So I am not rejecting your support. What I'm saying is that I think what you're speaking for certainly probably applies to you and your circle. But as far as that being the norm, it is not the case. I want it to be. I'm working for it to be. And part of that is by making it very clear and very definite where we stand on these things. So I want it to be, and I'm working for it to be. But that we're not there yet. We're not there yet at all. We're not right now. Is at epidemic levels, and the reason for it is because we are refining a punishment mechanism, but there really isn't a punishment mechanism for Africans coming over here cooning. There really, really isn't. And like I said before, there's a lot of incentive to do so, and not nearly enough punishment and enough retribution coming from the black grassroots for doing so. We're working on that.
Right.
But that's not where we're at.
I want to talk about the Latinos. I don't think we need to worry about the Latinos and them identifying as white people, that we just don't need to worry about them. We can just let's leave them out of this. That's my opinion. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm.
Dude, how old are you?
I'm about 22.
Okay, brother. That statement alone, you understand, by the way, everybody who's listening right now, live and recorded, I'm just going to tell you right now, those two comments are not going to go over well. I'm just letting you know right now. I'm not going to roast you over it, but I just want you to understand. Your first comment didn't do well, and the comment you just made is that is just going to compound it even worse. Why would you say that? Let me find out for a moment, brother. Why would you even think that?
I'm saying that we don't need to worry about how they identify, because we can just worry about ourselves and getting our economics up to speed.
Okay, but here's the thing. We do need to be concerned about how everyone identifies. You know why? Because that is called science. We cannot operate off of our opinions. What makes my documentary work unique is that I don't just talk about white supremacy, I talk to white supremacists. So that beyond us just saying that this is what we believe, when I go and shove a microphone in Jared Taylor's face or in Richard Spencer's face, and they tell you and say out of their mouths, this is our ideology, these are our goals, this is what we're doing, this is what we're promoting. Now you have transcended what you believe. You are no longer operating on a belief system. You're operating on a fact system, not a belief. And one of the big problems we have with black people is we've been believing things. One of the things we've been believing is that if somebody has the same skin color as us, then we just assume they feel the same way as us without us actually shoving a microphone in their faces and saying, hey, by the way, how do you feel about being black? Well, it's not about race, it is about class. And when you understand that it is about class, then you understand that there are black folks who can be racist too. And I understood this in my native Cameroon. And then you start understanding, okay, well, this is why we have issues. This is why this idea that, well, we got to watch out for the non-black immigrants, but as long as they're from Africa, we'll be okay. Wait, hold on. Now that we're operating on a science basis, we realize, no, you can't say that either. You can't operate that way. So it is imperative that we actually know, not we think, not we feel. We must know how all of these groups feel about us. We have to know where all of them stand for a very simple reason. And this is why I went back to science. Neely Fuller once gave a brilliant explanation of what science is and why it matters. And he gave the example of a beetle. And he said, why do you think that white folks study everything on the planet? They study beetles. And you ask them why. Very simple reason. Because this beetle is on planet Earth. And I am on planet Earth. So I study the beetle so that I can understand his relation to me. Because we're both on the same planet, which means either at a major level or a minor level, we affect each other. Brother, Latinos ain't living on Mars. They're living across the street from you. They're living up the block from you. You better know what your damn neighbors are up to. You better know what they think. You better know what they feel. You better know if they are happy with you, indifferent towards you, or downright hostile to you. You do yourself no favors by not knowing everything you can. And you know why I know that that's critical? Because that's the way that the dominant society has operated since we got here. They have micromanaged our every move. They have understood our language, understood our customs, understood our culture, understood our psychological and emotional weaknesses, and used them and played them against us now for centuries. No, you better know how these people feel about you, about themselves, about the society that they're in. This is why I was able to predict that Donald Trump was going to win the election in 2016, because while folk were running around talking about Marco Rubio and how because he's Latino, all the Cubans and stuff going to vote for him, I'm like, y'all don't understand. Cubans don't recognize being Cuban. They recognize being white. And folk who didn't live in Florida didn't understand this, but I understood it, which is why I was able to predict that Trump was going to win in Florida and that Rubio would not. Shocked a lot of people when that happened. But I was like, if you actually understand how they feel about themselves, then you understand that they don't identify as Cuban when it's time to vote. They identify as Cuban at their restaurants. They identify as Cuban in a social setting. Socially, they are Cuban. Politically, they are white. And that's a big ass difference. So you understand that when it comes to the border wall, Cubans don't have a problem with the wall. Mexicans do. If you don't know the distinction between Cubans and Mexicans, then you don't understand what's going to happen in Florida or what's going to happen in Texas. And because there are black people who live in Florida and live in Texas, it will affect you. And because there are plenty of Latinos that now live in Virginia and DC, what they feel and what they think about themselves is going to affect you. It already is. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. No, folks, you got to know what your neighbors are thinking. You need to be aware of what they're up to. You need to be aware of how they feel. You got to know what they think and what they feel more than they do and better than they do. As black people, we've been sitting up here trying to comfort ourselves with ignorance. Well, if I don't follow them, it'll be all right. If I don't worry about that, it'll be okay. Out of sight, out of mind. And that's the most dangerous thing in the world. Caller from area code 510. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Big one, TBA. This is John Scott from California.
Slow down. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sorry, sir. This is John calling from Oakland, California.
John calling from Oakland. What's on your mind?
Yes. California is that. As far as prices go.
Okay, brother, I don't know what's going on with your phone. It got real muddled all of a sudden. Folks, let's not play on the phones tonight. I'm not knowing what's going on here, but it's gotten real muddled. I'll give you a moment to try to get that together, but you've gotten real muddled all of a sudden.
Okay, I'm going to call back because my phone reception is really bad.
Okay. Folks,
Okay,
let's try to get it together here. Let me get caller from area code 908. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Name is Omar from Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay, Omar from Kent, New Jersey.
No, Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay, Omar from Trenton. What's on your mind?
Hey, you were actually right when you said that they can flood the zone in the middle states. When I was driving over the road, I drove like states that people don't even recognize, like Wyoming and Nebraska, and these states as far as population. The Republican states, they have low population. They're politically irrelevant, but they're huge masses of land.
Correct.
And I've always thought if they really wanted to go ahead and open up the floodgates in South America, they have plenty of room for these people.
Correct.
Plenty of room. And they can literally start urban centers in places like Wyoming and South Dakota and North Dakota. If you've ever been there, there's nothing but mass frontier.
You're correct. For people who have, understand something. For people who have never driven, there's a reason why I called Colorado is dead for black people a decade ago. Because if you've never actually driven it, you don't know it. Now, I'm from the southern United States. I've driven across Texas many times. West Texas, once you get past Dallas, Texas, it ain't really nothing but 8 or 9 more hours of basically wilderness is what it is.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
coming
on
from
I-10, it's just a stretch.
All right, slow down. Coming from Louisiana, for example, let's use Louisiana and the Mississippi River as your line of demarcation. Coming from Louisiana, you go across Texas. If you want to, for example, go up to the Pacific Northwest, let's just say you're not going to California because going to Interstate 10 is too easy to go. I'm talking about going to some of those states you were just talking about. And let's just say you want to cut across Texas and we want to cut across up to Colorado. So you're going to go up to Laredo, Texas. To Amarillo. You're going to go up to Amarillo, Texas.
Yeah.
And then you're going to cut on up through Colorado. You're going to go through Colorado Springs. You're going to go through Vail. You're going to go through Aspen. And what I'm saying is, if you have a perspective that a lot of people don't have because you're like me. You've actually driven it. It's one thing to be on an airplane because in reality, airplanes are very deceptive because you basically walk in a door in one place and then you fly and then you walk out of a door and you are at your destination. When you actually have to drive something, then you get to see every square inch, every square mile. You actually get to absorb it. You actually get to absorb the distance because you actually have to stay awake and drive. It takes work to drive, and you actually have to stay awake and drive. You get to notice all the landmarks. You get to notice Dead Man's Pass. For my folks who live up there, and I think that was Oregon I was at, or I want to say that was Oregon I was at.
But Jason,
for Dead Man's Pass.
Jason, one more thing.
Why are my callers so excited tonight? Calm down.
I'm sorry.
I'll let you finish.
I've been to Salt Lake City.
I'll let you finish in a moment. I need my callers to calm down. I'm hosting my program. When you're going up through Colorado and you realize how long it takes to get through there. And it takes hours and hours. And then when you come through Green River, Utah, because if you're coming up that way, you're coming through Green River. And it takes hours and hours, and you go through, when you go through Pueblo, but then you go through Green River, and you're going through Utah and all that Mormon country and everything, and you go through the mountains, and you realize how damn long it takes to get through all of that. And that's when you start having an idea of how massive those states really are, but not just how massive they are. There are two things that I noticed driving through those areas. Number one, I noticed how nice the interstates are in these states that don't have very large populations. These states do not have very large populations, yet They've got extremely broad, extremely expensive freeways, like the one that follows the Colorado River, for example. That thing is hellacious. If anybody who's driven it knows, that thing is hella expensive. It's got like 2 levels to it, whether you're going north or south. It's got 2 levels to it. That thing, and it goes straight through the mountains, which means that was incredibly expensive. Then you see through Utah, same thing. Then when you get up in Oregon and then up into Washington State, same thing. Interstate 5 going up through Washington, same thing. These are outrageously expensive in places you would figure the state must have a population of 20 million people, and it's got a population like 3 million. So what I'm saying is they spent a lot of money building a lot of modern freeway infrastructure in places where the population density doesn't really allow that. It doesn't really allow that. But yet they have already spent the money. They've already spent it. They've already invested it. And so you got to ask a question. If they spent that kind of money in those areas, then the question becomes why? Why did you spend all this money with all these big, broad, modern freeways through the mountains? Why did you do that? Why? And I'm telling you that was all part of the Freeway Act, the Interstate Act. That was all a part of the Highway Act. They are preparing those states for their urban centers that do not exist yet. These urban centers don't exist yet. But they will. And their intention is just like in the 19th century, when they brought over all those white folk and gave them land, gave them huge swaths of land, and this is reserved for y'all and nothing for black folk. Now they're doing it for their, quote, immigrants. And they're going to they told black folk they can't give us a state. When Louis Farrakhan said, well, give us a state. No, we can't give you nothing. They're going to give the illegals Arizona. They're going to give them Nevada. They're going to give them one of those. They're going to do that. And you're going to have those the urban. I'm not worried so much about the urban centers of today. I'm thinking about the urban centers of 2050. I'm thinking about those and what America has typically called flyover country. Those quote flyover states. Yeah, those will be the ones that they ship them off in, and to make sure that black people don't even have the future option of becoming a population threat in any of those places. You're going to show up there, and America's going to be a place that's dominated by whites and white identifying Latinos. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, I've seen the future of what you're talking about in Salt Lake City. I used to live there for a little while. And, of course, as you know, there's a lot of Latter-day Saints. But, you know, Salt Lake City's on the rise. It's been on the rise and it's really coming up. And they have a big, huge Latino population in Salt Lake City. And I can tell you right now, the first time I got called the N-word wasn't from a Latter-day Saint. It was from a Mexican. So what you're saying is coming to pass because I've seen it back in the early 2000s with Salt Lake City. So this is what they're really planning on doing. You know, is taking these Mexicans that hate us and put them in these cities that are going to be made later on into the future. And that's where the big, because you look at places like Idaho, there's a land grab going for Idaho now. All them cats from California.
Oh, there's more than that.
They're raising the price up.
There's more than that because anybody if you've driven from Texas through to New Mexico, you can see it happening there as well. Like I said, it'll be modest. It'll be modest. And one of the things that we're not thinking about, I want black folk to understand something right now. For all of you Negroes out here that you've been butt kissing on Kamala Harris and the rest of them, I want you all to just understand something here. For all you old ass black folk in your rickety ass houses and all these torn down, bombed out urban centers and whatnot, I want you dumbasses to understand something. I want you to understand that they made redlining for you. For you, they made redlining. That was a term that was made for black folk, and they had that for you. But for these other folks that you're sitting up here hurting yourselves to go campaign for, they're going to go put them in states. And I'm telling you all right now, they're telling we can't do nothing just for black folks, but they've set the precedent that we can do something just for Latinos and call it DACA. have you all considered that just like they have home buying programs, have you all considered a home buying program for illegal aliens? And a lot of you have told yourselves, no, nothing like that could happen. And what I'm telling you is that when you start identifying these states that don't have a lot of populations like that, and then once you realize that governments need tax revenue, and that's going to be their number one priority, it would be in their interest. They'll make a government program, build whole subdivisions for these illegals, give them special no-interest loans and all types of incentives. They'll make whole government housing programs for them, while black folk are all piled up and stacked up on top of each other and packed in like sardines in Brooklyn and New York and Detroit and Philadelphia and Houston, living on top of each other, trying to share 500 square feet. They'll sit up here and build 3,000 square feet neighborhoods for these illegals. Oh yeah, I'll go even further than that. Not only will they go build them, they will have the illegals building them. So they will actually, I see a day where we can have a federal program and it'll be Latino contractors, Latino workers, either citizens or illegals. They'll be the ones owning the companies. They'll be the ones building the houses. They'll be the ones developing them. Hell, they're probably bringing in Carlos Slim or somebody like that to help finance it and everything. And then they'll have the Latinos living in them and tell you and me about what black folks should have pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. We was fighting redlining, and we were fighting redlining. We were giving redlining, and they're going to be given a straight line. I want you all to think about that for a few moments. If they can give illegals scholarships, what's to prevent them from scholarships and health care? What's to prevent them from giving them housing? And they'll do it out in the middle of nowhere. And there'll be a bunch of Negroes talking about, well, hell, I didn't want to live in no Nebraska, no way. Where was Malcolm X from? I don't want to live in no Iowa anyway. I don't want to live in Kansas anyway. I don't want to live out there in those places, Idaho anyway. And they'll go stack the illegals out there and whatnot. And then, just like Dubai wasn't anything anybody talked about 10 years ago, now everybody talks about it. When they start, they'll be blowing up they'll have these shadow urban centers, these Latino shadow urban centers that black folk are going to be completely oblivious to and unaware of. And like you said, if somebody's not a truck driver and you're not forced to drive to those places, because then you ask yourself, well, what the hell is in Salt Lake City? Then you realize, well, I'll be damned, it's a bunch of Mormons, and the Mormons are for real. They've always been real about their paper. They've always been real about their paper since Brigham Young. You all can go look that up. But since Brigham Young, they always been real about their paper. And they're perfectly fine being invisible because they understand the power of being invisible. So, yes, I've been through Salt Lake City. And, yeah, I mean, those places are blowing up. Places all over Arizona are blowing up. They talk about Phoenix, but I'm really telling y'all about Chandler. When I had to stop through at Chandler, Arizona, had no idea, and I think it's Sun Microsystems out there and whatnot. But Chandler, Arizona, is built up like they got Florida looking. And if you don't actually go to these places, it's a whole bunch of places in this country that black folk have never heard of, that major activity is happening in. And black folk can only name the same 4 damn places: Houston, Atlanta, Chicago, and DC. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of other places that are being built out and developed out, and we're completely oblivious to all of it. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. For black folk out there, do yourselves a favor. Get rid of that rickety ass old 89 Caprice you've been driving. Go rent yourself a brand new car. Just go rent one for a week and go drive. Go drive Interstate 10. Go drive Interstate 5. Go drive some of these interstates and whatnot and go through some of these places you ain't never been before. Go and check those out. So you can actually learn what the hell's going on out there in a bunch of cities and a bunch of places you never heard of. How many of y'all been to the airport in Phoenix? Hands up. How many of you have been to the airport in Phoenix? I have. How many of y'all been to that airport there? You go to the damn airport in Phoenix and big-ass tunnels. They got that place built out. You have no idea. You think it's a bunch of desert. Well, there is a desert there, but understand something. You're not ready. There are a whole bunch. Black folk are still talking about the same 5 or 6 cities. Folks, you need to get acquainted. There are a bunch of places outside of these major urban areas that we've been accustomed to invoking the name of that are already built out. Places and cities you ain't never heard of. Major money moving. Whole lot of things happening. Remember, I got pulled over just outside of Tucson. They let all the illegals and whatnot go by, and these bogus-ass highway patrol in Arizona pulled me over. Caller from area code 214, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Carlton, and I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, but I'm calling out of Garland, Texas.
All right, Carlton, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I would like to say that, you've been on point about everything, and I just left Cheyenne, Wyoming, Colorado Springs, and one of the things that I noticed is that the white man is building his heaven right here on earth. These places are not immaculate. I would say about 5 years ago, when I was up there in these areas, I didn't see any Mexicans, no forms of Latinos. But now when you go to these places, you begin to see them all over the place. And one of the things that they do is they discourage black people from being in these places. So you are right and exact when it comes down to this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these people have taken over.
You know, they got their police out there. Like I say, they don't treat these illegals like they treat black folk. They never have.
Oh, no.
They never have. Now, being from Shreveport, you understand, brother, they don't harass these illegals. Hell, even in Louisiana, by the way. Even in Shreveport. You haven't heard about illegals getting shot in the back 6 times. You haven't heard about illegals getting killed at the damn jailhouse. You haven't heard about illegals, unarmed illegals getting gunned down. You don't hear about illegals, suspicious Latinos walking in the neighborhood. Never heard of that. As long as we've been black in America, never heard of that. Never heard about them loitering outside of Home Depot. They'd be out there 10 and 12 deep, standing outside of Home Depot. Nobody's calling the police talking about they're loitering. Nobody's talking about suspicious-looking Latinos. Nobody's doing that. As a matter of fact, they stepped in quick before black folk could even do that. They stepped in quick. Oh, by the way, you can't call the police on them if they look suspicious. You can't ask them for no ID. Now, black people, they just had a young man. I forget exactly where it was. It was a young man. He was walking in the damn snow, and the police done grabbed him. Okay, I heard about that. They can do that to young black people, but they can't do that to young Latinos. I want y'all to understand, they've already got more rights than you. So they couldn't do that to Latino. If they had said suspicious-looking Latinos walking through the neighborhood, they'd be like, oh, we can't stop them and ask for their papers. But you can be black, and they do that. The illegals already got more rights. Y'all can get the hell out of here talking about you need more. You've already got more than us. You need to put your back to work and start getting some benefits and protections for us like y'all got. We don't have to do a damn thing else for you. I want to say they said that's in Texas. I'm pretty sure that was in Texas. Yeah, we don't have to do a damn thing else for them. We don't have to do anything else for them. They've already got more than us. They've already got more rights. They've already got more protections than us, and they're not even citizens. That tells you about the hypocrisy of this nation at an epic level, and you cannot reason with hypocrites on this criminal of a level. You've got to get serious about having a code of conduct with yourselves, so that you understand I can't start the conversation with them. I got to start the conversation over here with us, because they are criminally hypocritical at this point. They're already targeting you and making it clear at every level. The police can pull you over, but not them. The police can impound your car if you don't have insurance, but not the illegals. Since when the hell does a non-citizen have more rights than a citizen? When that citizen is black. Oh, then you realize the Latinos are the illegal aliens, but black people are the legal aliens. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I had to remind you all about that. I said that over a decade ago. Hell, back during the MySpace years. That black people are not citizens. We are legal aliens. The Mexicans are illegal aliens, but black people, we're the legal aliens. And right now, the illegal aliens have more rights and more protections than the legal aliens do. To the point that they set up here, it was a national calamity when they talked about being able to ask folk whether or not get identification from illegal aliens. Meanwhile, black children are still being harassed by the police. That tells you who they consider to be the enemy. The enemy is not the Latinos. The enemy is not the Mexicans. Not about the wall. You are still public enemy number one. This society has never galvanized itself and risen up to deal with these illegals the way they have black people. Has never happened. Caller from area code 347. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Jason? This is Jay from Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Jay from Sioux Falls. What's on your mind?
Hey, I wanted to confirm everything you were saying about these flyover states like South Dakota, Iowa, and Nebraska. They got it set up for them already. So if you go on the east side of Sioux Falls, it's nothing but Mexican restaurants, Asian supermarkets, East African restaurants, hair salons. You take an hour. You take I-29, the major highway that connects North Dakota all the way down to Oklahoma. You take I-29, you go down an hour to Sioux City, Iowa. There's nothing but Mexican restaurants, Mexican supermarkets. And then you take another hour from Sioux City down to Omaha, Nebraska. They have they gentrifying the north side of Omaha, where the predominantly black population is at, and because Creighton University is gentrifying that area. Then you go down to the south side of Omaha, is Mexican restaurants, supermarkets everywhere. So I wanted to confirm everything you were saying about these flyover states and places like North Dakota, South Dakota, Omaha, all these other places. They're being gentrified. It's set up for them already. So by the time black people come out here,
the real treachery of this is that you got black folk talking about we need to help the illegals. And meanwhile, you and anybody who's actually seen something, because it's Negroes who live on Twitter all day, or they wait for some coon politician to tell them what to think, or they listen to their parents and grandparents who have been failures, and they sitting there secretly wishing and lusting for one more piece of interracial sexual access. So when you start talking about non-black people, they want to know where them draws at. And then you realize that you're up there in those areas that you've been those areas you're in. Now, it really started developing once they started here about a little over about 10, 15 years ago. North Dakota, South Dakota, when they found the shale up there and started developing that with the fracking and the shale and whatnot. And it basically was an oil rush. Those places blew up very, very quickly, very, very fast. And black folk as a group are like, well, hell, they can have it because there ain't nothing but snow up there. Okay, you say that, but that's where economic opportunity is also. So while black folk are sitting at Lenox Mall waiting for a damn record deal, the Mexicans been up there in North Dakota and South Dakota making big ass dollars, drilling the oil up there and whatnot. That's what's going on.
And keep this though, Jason. They about to build an Amazon fulfillment center out here now. So you already know who's going to take those jobs and stuff at the new Amazon fulfillment center and everything. So while black people, like you said, they worried about going to Atlanta, Houston, and all these other places, these immigrant groups and everything is being sent to these areas and stuff. And meanwhile, they're building up houses. They got the Amazon plant coming through. They're building up downtown Sioux Falls. They now to the point now they're starting to they're already having development plans. So when the population grows, so they're expecting a population boom. I think they already picked out where they're going to have black people living. Instead of having them living in Sioux Falls, the city, they're going to have them in the outskirts like Harrisburg.
Oh, no. I made my film gentrified because I want you all to understand this idea that there's going to be urban reclamation, that white folk are going to leave the suburbs, come back to the urban centers, and push black folk out in the suburbs. No, and wrong. Black people everywhere, there will be no place for black people. It's a very tempting thing, and they want you to believe that, oh, black folk are going to be pushed to the outskirts. I told black folk that in Dallas. I used to live in Plano. Used to live in Dallas. You're not going to be there. I said that 20 years ago. Black folk are not going to be here, and that's what the hell is happening. You got one or two black folk with some bougie-ass human resources job who hanging on by the skin of their damn teeth living in Plano. They pushed all the black folk down to DeSoto. They pushed them everywhere else. Mesquite, Richardson, Plano, everything else in the Dallas Metroplex. They pushed all the black folk out. Black folk all cordoned off down there in DeSoto, and that's for now. Up there in the Dakotas, brother, they're going to push your ass out of Sioux Falls and whatnot. And the goal you're going to have folk who are going to flee, but there will be no place to flee to. Let me explain to you what I mean. In New York City, and this is an example that most people can identify with. In New York, black folk are living in Harlem. Harlem is on the island of Manhattan, for those of you who don't know. There's the 5 boroughs in New York, Manhattan, Staten Island, Long Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx. Black folk are living in Harlem, which is Manhattan. That's the northern part of Manhattan. Manhattan is shaped like an icicle.
I'm originally from New York.
Okay. Well, for the folk who ain't from New York, if you take a look at it on the map, Manhattan is shaped like an icicle. The World Trade Tower and all that is in the financial district. That's at the bottom of that icicle. Harlem is up there at basically the top of that icicle. And that's where the black folk are. Harlem, Washington Heights, and whatnot. You can cross over into the Bronx. And what black folk have been doing for the last 30 years, as Manhattan has gentrified the whole damn island, the rents are outrageous and whatnot, black folk either fled over to Brooklyn or fled to the Bronx. Then you had those who were out there in Queens, but they really ain't fleeing to Queens so much as they've already been in Queens. I'm sorry, did I forget to say Queens? I said Manhattan, Staten Island, Long Island, Brooklyn.
Island, Bronx, yeah, Brooklyn.
Yeah, I forgot to say Queens. Okay, I think I forgot to say Queens. If I forgot to say Queens, don't throw Molotov cocktails over there. If I forgot to say Queens. So what black folk have been doing is they've been fleeing and flooding over to those other places. Is what they've been doing. And they got run out of Manhattan. So they thought they were going to be slick and be like, oh, well, hell, we'll just go over to Brooklyn. Now you're realizing that they are not able to do that. They're not able to do that. You're not able to go flee to Brooklyn anymore. I'm sorry, this is going to bother me if I don't get this straight. Let me go back. I have to remember the way I was taught that. Manhattan, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, the Bronx. It is not Long Island. Okay, for those of you not, I know I want to be straight about this because I am the authority. I want to make sure I'm straight about that. It's not Long Island. The 5 boroughs does not include Long Island. So thank you, caller, for not correcting me either about that. He's very respectful. But no, it's the 5 boroughs would be Manhattan, Brooklyn. I remember them the way I visited them. So if it sounds like it's like Jason, why is it so hard? I remember them the way I visited them. So Manhattan, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, the Bronx. All right, now that we got that straight. Black folk fled from Manhattan as it got gentrified here over the last 30 years. Bunch of them, there were some already in Brooklyn, a bunch of them fled over to Brooklyn. Now Brooklyn is getting built out. Anybody who's crossed over the Brooklyn Bridge from Manhattan into Brooklyn, going past the Barclays Center and whatnot, you see you got skyscrapers over there in Brooklyn now. They will probably not reach the heights of the ones in the financial district in Manhattan, but it doesn't really damn well matter at this point because they got all these skinny skyscrapers and whatnot, and they're all residential. So Brooklyn is on its way to being completely gentrified at this point. Now black folk are fleeing over to the Bronx. Is what they're doing now. But for those of you who don't understand, well, that's not going to work out for you either. Because, yeah, the Bronx right now has got a bunch of crime and stuff like that. But that's part of the plan, is to drive down the prices of everything drive down the values of it, and then when you get done, then that's going to be it. So when you've got things like the Piano District, we talk about the Bronx, y'all need to go Google the Piano District. The developers are already snatching up what is relatively cheap land in the Bronx. Go Google the Piano District. If you don't believe me, I made the documentary about this. This is why I try to be a stickler to be accurate about these things. If I'm going to speak about what's happening in the 5 boroughs, I better name the 5 boroughs correctly. So when I start talking about the Bronx and the Latino not Latino, somebody said Latino in the chat. The Piano District, well, it might as well be the Latino District at this point. But that's what's happening there. And what I'm saying is, oh no, you're going to be pushed out of that son of a gun. Now in New York, it's even worse because right now I'm seeing a situation where they're pushing them outside of the city completely, and the goal will be you will not be able to live in the city. You're either going to be flushed over to New Jersey, and you got another thought. Black folk are going to all be piled up over there in Newark because you're not going to be able to get anywhere else in New Jersey. Or you're going to be pushed outside the city limits in New York, and black folk are going to try to get to Rochester, but you ain't going to be able to afford to live there. Rochester, Tarrytown, Westminster,
Poughkeepsie, Newburgh.
Yeah, Rochester, Tarrytown, Westchester. Did I say Westminster? My God, Westchester. Like I said, I'm trying to keep straight with all these places I am, but the folks who live in that Rochester, Tarrytown, Westchester area, y'all understand, there ain't nothing for black folk there. Those are nice little suburban towns. Those are real nice little quiet, secluded townships. They're very nice. Oh, very, very nice. Well, they built that bridge, that new bridge out there that goes over the harbor out there. It's a beautiful bridge. It's a beautiful bridge. I must say it's a lovely bridge. So now they've built like the Cuomo Bridge. I want to say they built the Mario Cuomo Bridge. That bridge, they got Mario Cuomo Bridge. They got that, the white, I keep forgetting. There's so many of them now. I'm going to go back and remember all the names. That white something bridge that goes through Queens. They got that.
The Whitestone Bridge.
Whitestone Bridge. Thank you very much. I was saying last year. Whitestone Bridge going through Queens. Thank you for proving that you're from New York also. Thank you very much. That's helpful. You got all these new bridges that they built all over the place in New York. And by the way, and Whitestone, I can confirm when that one went online because I drove across the bridge once and there were no tolls on it. Went back across the bridge a couple of months later and got the letter in the mail giving me the fees for the tolls. So I can tell you, I'm like, I know this was built out because the first couple of times I went across it, I didn't get charged a toll. Once they got the cameras up, now you get charged a toll. So what I'm saying is you built all this infrastructure that can take you up north, but there's nowhere to go up north for black people. Yep. So you can't, if you try to go south, there ain't nothing south because that's not the way New York is geographically built. You can go east, but you're going to end up in New Jersey. Good luck there. You can go north, but you're going to end up in, the first thing you're going to encounter is Westchester, Rochester, Tarrytown, and that area up there. God help you in that area. You're going to get pushed even further north, so you're going to have to go into Spring Valley? So you got a bunch of poor-ass black folk up there in Spring Valley and Albany for as long as they allow you to be there. So what I'm saying is,
you want to move to Pennsylvania, it's over for you in Pennsylvania. You can't go to the Poconos.
Yeah, you can.
Allentown,
the idea that white folk are going to take the urban areas and we're going to be pushed out in the suburbs and just swap places. That's not going to happen. That was what used to happen. That's not going to happen this time. When we're getting pushed out these urban areas, and you are essentially being evicted from the city. And now it is now expanding to not only are you being evicted from the city, you're being evicted from that geographic area. So you're basically being evicted from Southern New York. You're being evicted from a whole part of the state. The whole part of the state. Up
and
in the chat,
crazy, Jason, because I end up in South Dakota. Oh, my bad, sorry.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah, because I ended up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because I saw the writing on the wall. Because I graduated in 2009 during the Great Recession, so I couldn't find any jobs or anything. And my brother took the leap of faith and applied for a job out here at Wells Fargo because they got a call center out here. And he ended up moving out. He started doing well for himself. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to move to Atlanta because too many people from New York is going to go to Atlanta. I'm not going to Florida. So it's going to be like New York 2.0. So I was like, you know what? Let me take the leap of faith and go out of my comfort zone and come out here to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I got a leg up out here, but then it's like the Negroes out here, they comfortable. They don't want to get on no economic plan. They
Apathetic.
just happy to be with a white woman and smoke weed all day and just make a bunch of kids out here. Stuff,
Yeah,
you know?
not
Like,
just
it's crazy. And
not
I've seen
just
how all these
comfortable,
people
but
just building up.
not just comfortable, but apathetic. That's the real thing.
Yep.
How old are you?
I'm 37.
That's a damn shame. How long you been living out there?
5 years now.
That's a big ass damn shame. 32 years old and had to flee New York. With all that damn money and infrastructure, and as long as black folk been living there, where did you live at in New York? You originally from Brooklyn?
I'm from the Bronx. Yeah,
okay.
From the Bronx.
And like I say, all that damn money in New York and whatnot, and the children have to flee the damn state. That's just how bad it is. This is what I meant right there. You are exactly what I was talking about right there. Black folk are being basically evicted from the damn city. They're being evicted from the state. It's not about, can I move to the suburbs? It's, I gotta leave the state. And that is the plan. That was always the plan. So what happened to you in New York? Oh, brother, first of all, y'all need to understand those developers in New York have already gone nationwide. But the practice of white supremacy is already nationwide. So what happened to you in New York, they're just going to follow that game plan. They're just going to follow the roadmap of New York and say, hey, New York is a place where they experiment with these kinds of things. Economic gentrification, economic removal, economic ethnic cleansing. New York is the proving ground where they prove that these theories can work in the real world. They've proven it can work there. So that's the situation we're in. In the Bronx, folks, y'all got to understand, the Bronx is not safe. To anybody thinking the Bronx, first of all, let me explain something to y'all. I've been across this country.
90 seconds.
You all don't know poverty if you ain't been to the southern United States. If you haven't been to the deep south. What you all call, quote, the hood in New York, and I ain't saying you ain't got some dangerous niggas up there. I ain't saying that. But what I'm saying is what you all call poor in New York, we laugh at that down here in the southern United States. You ain't seen poor till you've been to rural Mississippi. You haven't seen poor until you've been to Louisiana. You ain't seen poor until you've been to Arkansas. New York State does not know what poor is. Y'all goddamn me double level houses talking about poor. You got no idea. The Bronx is not poor. Now by New York standards, the Bronx is poor, but it is not. And what I'm telling you is by developer standards, the Bronx is a diamond in the rough. By real estate developer standards, it's a diamond in the rough. Nope. And the fact that they have built that infrastructure, and like I say, the last time I went to the Bronx, I was out there where that Einstein Center is. It was that hospital is Einstein, whatever it is, Einstein Institute, and there's that there's the hotel out there. There's like a LA Fitness out
10
there. It's
seconds.
Way out, but that's where I was at, and I was like, oh, they're already building through here. So your infrastructure and your freeways are already built out there. It's like, and the train goes by, the Acela goes by there. It's like, folks, they've already got the transportation infrastructure in place. That is why what they're doing out there in Los Angeles, building the subway through there, is so essential. Building that subway up Crenshaw. That's the reason why that's so essential. When you put the transportation apparatus in place, that allows the free movement. And from there, they're letting you know if they're building a transportation infrastructure through your area, they want to bring in people who are not from there already, but will be in the future. Now, if you're already there and they never built that infrastructure before, why are they so concerned with building it now? Because they got plans to remove you. And right now we are seeing not gentrified parts of town or even gentrified cities. I want young people to acquaint themselves with the concept of a gentrified state. Florida is going to be a gentrified state. New York is going to be a gentrified state. California is going to be a gentrified state. Texas, is going to be a gentrified state. Anybody in Dallas should see the writing on the wall for that one. And the reason why is because ain't nobody gonna build any. You got 40 million black people in America. If you displace 1 million of us, ain't nobody building 1 million damn new houses for lower income people. They're not building 1 million new houses. Y'all saw the fallacy of that in New York. They talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. Oh, we're going to build these new developments and a certain percentage of the housing is going to be reserved for, is going to be rent controlled and quote reserved for lower income. And how did that work out in New York? It didn't. It never has. And it won't. They'll sit up here, it'll be rent control for a little while. And as soon as your ass moves out, boom, market rate.
Yep.
We're going to build, what's that with the, what was that? Oh, the old Bedford-Stuyvesant and whatnot. It's going to be the same way. They say that in the beginning when they sell it to the developers. Oh, don't worry, we're going to set aside a certain number of units. You can't set aside a certain number of units. You went from having 100% of that development being for lower income people to only 10% or 25% for lower income people. Well, what happened to the other damn 75%? Oh, you're going to have to leave the state. You're going to have to leave everywhere because you got your Section 8 voucher, but there's no place that's accepting Section 8 vouchers. So what good will it do for you to move out of the city talking about you're going to move somewhere else? There isn't any housing in the suburbs for you to move to. There's nowhere for you to go. There are no new structures being built. They're not building any new subdivisions for black folk making a median income of $36,000 a year. Nobody is building any new housing developments, high rises. Nobody's building housing for people making $36,000 and $42,000 a year. They want you making $75,000 and $100,000. At least 50.
Yeah, Jason. So I remember you always said watch out for these old Negroes and stuff, right? And unfortunately, I gotta put my mother. She's a baby boomer. She had property in upstate New York, like literally an hour outside of New York, outside the Bronx, New York City and stuff, right next to, Westchester County, Orange County and stuff. So she had a city job, working for New York City Transit, retired and everything, decides to pack up and move down south. So me and my brother that live out here with me in South Dakota, we're telling her to keep the property because it's going to appreciate in value and, you're going to have a foothold in New York. She decided to say, you know what, I'm going to sell the house because I don't feel like doing the upkeep and I don't feel like renting it out. So she sold the house. So when you say watch out for these old Negroes, how they don't leave nothing for you, they don't give a damn about the next generation, anything like that, that's a perfect example of why I end up moving out here and stuff, So,
I tried to warn y'all years ago because I knew it was a tough pill to swallow. It's tough to have to look at your parents, your grandparents, your uncles, your aunties. But I just saw that a lot of y'all didn't. I just saw that I couldn't project my situation onto the rest of you because I saw what y'all were putting up with. Your family members are cracked out on drugs. Your family members are irresponsible. Selfish. Your family members are selfish as hell. Family members are sitting up here on all kinds of nonsense. And I didn't make the mistake that a lot of folk do and just assume that you all's situation is somehow similar. For those of us who haven't been through that, we got to understand everybody else. My people are messed up in a large way across this country. And we got to deal with them where they're at. So that was why I was like, when I saw that, I just said, hey, y'all young cats, y'all got to watch out for these old niggas. I just got to tell y'all, you all got, to my young people, y'all got to watch these old niggas in your families and whatnot. And I'm like, I'll take the heat for it. I'll take the heat and I'll say it. If y'all can't say it, I'll say it. And maybe once you hear it, it might be tough for you to hear the first couple of times, but it might comfort you later when you realize, you know what? That was kind of rough, him saying that, but I'll be damned if it wasn't true. Because you're living that.
You was right.
Because you're living it. You out here in a damn life or death game, and you got to move all the way to damn me Bumwater, Dakota, because there ain't nothing in New York and your family ain't trying to put nothing together for you. What the hell am I gonna look like telling you to respect that? What the hell am I gonna look like telling you forgive and respect that? Damn that. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Speaking about forgive. I was reading about the case of a Black Panther. Well, actually, he finally got released from prison and then they came back and arrested him in, I think it was New York, for trying to vote. They said he killed a couple of cops. 40 years later, the cop's widow ain't talking no forgive. She said if he wants forgiveness, he can meet his maker and ask for forgiveness there. Yeah, every time they talk to black folk, the police gun us down. Do you forgive the officers who did it? Why, I shows does. I mean, Jesus know his heart. And you know, it would be wrong for me to, nigga, if you don't sit your old corn cob eating ass down somewhere. Get caller from area code 773. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Joshua. I live in Chicago.
Joshua
I'm
from
7 years old.
Okay, Joshua from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. Yeah, you are pretty on point about the elders because I have an aunt that's into politics. It's a hard Joe Biden. She was crying all over the place, talking about we got a vice president, woman vice president. I said, you know what's something going to happen to you, right? You know what's going to. He said, well, we just want Trump out of there, and this is what happens. And I keep telling her something that this man is going to do something. He just made everything fucking worse. And the thing is, you on point about these elders, man. It's like the women in the family, the mammies of the group, are the ones that's giving us the hard time as males. Not only the males, but the bitch ass niggas, excuse my language, of the males too, also as well.
Well, because that's something something I want to talk to you young cats about. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay, I want you young cats to understand something about your old ass uncle and your old ass granddaddy. You got to understand, Malcolm X couldn't make nothing pop off with them old niggas. That's why I had to call it like it is. Marcus Garvey couldn't really make nothing pop off with them old niggas. H. Rap Brown couldn't really get nothing going with them old niggas. Because most of them old niggas, when white folks opened up the ability for them to get a job at the plant, white folk understood, we can buy this nigga off with a paycheck. That's it. He ain't got nothing. Yep. These old ass niggas, all they want to do is chase some draws. So when Superfly came out and Shaft came out, them niggas was the one that's the damn theater, jumping around like a bunch of baboons, sitting up here, ooh, that good right there, daydreaming and wishing to themselves. That's why all the old niggas in your family, there's some old rusted out Cadillac in somebody's backyard somewhere, or some pictures of him dressed up, like I said, they were wearing their damn gaiters and their snakeskin boots and everything else. Ain't left a damn thing for you. So understand, these old fellas up here, the reason why they were doing that, I want you all to have clarity about what it is that you see and to understand it's not accidental. These old niggas submit to the women because their priority isn't building something. All that they aspire to in this world is jumping from one damn bed to another. So you got a generation of degenerate gigolos. They didn't give a damn who they got pregnant, so they kicked off the bastard baby boom. And they were yeah, they did. Can we say something that y'all ain't gonna like? I really need to deal with this on my other program. I really need to deal with this on the business, but let me tell y'all something. These old niggas was happy for welfare. Oh, I said that. Oh, I said that, nigga. I said that about you old gray bastards. I said that. You old slime ball, greasy ass, neck bone, chitlins eating bastards. Y'all were happy about welfare and food stamps getting expanded because you was like, well, I'll be damned. I used to have to take care of them side chicks on the side of town. Now, well, hell, can't you just go to the county and get you a check so I can keep running these streets? These old ass niggas was good about that. They were real good about that.
Can I add on something else? You know, I asked, and the thing is that we get a lot of flack. I'm a millennial, and the thing is that they compare, and the boomers be like, "Oh, you guys, I feel sorry for you guys. You guys are lazy." I said, who fault was that? And they get mad at me. Yo, you disrespect the elder. I said, no, not really, because you guys failed. I said, the thing is that I respect elders like you, Jason. It's just the elders like the ones like to drink, smoke, and fuck everything around the streets. That's who I respect. But the ones that fucking like we shall overcome and we should integrate and shit like that. And I don't get. I'm not into politics like that. But I should study. I'm not either side, but I am.
Well, I want you
aware
young
of
cats to
what-
understand it's not accidental. These guys have priorities. And when I tell you that you cannot respect them, I want you to understand. They submit to the women. They had no problem bowing and submitting. Now you're in a situation where that kind of stupidity gets you killed. But take a look at these old niggas now, and that's another difference between them and you. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Another difference between these old niggas and y'all young cats is you young cats haven't embraced extinction yet. Because you're looking and saying, hey, I got my whole life ahead of me. Don't y'all know most of these old niggas, they like if they made it to 50, they was doing good. Well, I make it to 50. That's why you see a bunch of old men in church. You don't see young men in church. You see these old ass cats with their rickety asses and their canes and their 1985 Brooks Brothers suit. With their damn penny loafers they bought at Montgomery Ward. And they go and waddle their asses up in the church and whatnot. I'm the church deacon. This nigga ain't never did nothing for the neighborhood. The most prestigious title he's ever been able to get is the church deacon. So he sits up here chasing the damn deaconesses around and trying to run up on somebody's granddaughter at the church because you ain't built a damn thing and there's nothing about you that anybody would really find worth having. So he goes in there and tries to trick off his damn retirement check on somebody's grandmama or somebody's granddaughter. I know what the hell is happening in these churches. That nigga would run us over in his 82 Buick Regal with the engine that's missing the timing. He'd run us over to get a shot at Consuela over there. See, that'll be the old niggas working there at Albertsons. You got one of these old niggas working, stocking the damn shelves at Albertsons. Well, hello there, Miss Ann. Then when Consuela and Conchita show up, well, hello there, Miss Consuela. You sure ain't looking nice today. Oh, what you say there? Oh, Hector ain't been home to take care of his kids in a few months? He ain't good about that there, baby. Now, you know, I'm 67 years old. When I was coming up, we took care of our kids. This nigga been on child support since MLK had the March on Washington. But you got one of these old niggas sitting up here working his job at Home Depot or Lowe's. Telling Consuela what he gonna do for her them 4 anchor babies. This nigga got to work part-time because he's too damn old to do anything else. Why, man, why don't you come let me come by there and see why don't you come let me come play some volleyball with the kids, Consuela? This nigga gonna have bursitis and elbow tendonitis. But he'll sure be smiling up in Consuela's face. Let there be a non-black female at the damn job, and these old niggas is quick to smile. They ain't gonna let go of that. He don't give a damn how many kids she got. He doesn't care. These old niggas have been contaminating the landscape now for decades. That's why I taught you all you can't trust them, and you damn sure don't need to be respecting them. And when I explain it to you all like that, does it make more sense to you now how it happened that way? So isn't it ironic that we talk about establishing black manhood, and who is it who are the loudest voices yelling at the young black men that we don't need to worry about manhood? Why, it's the old niggas from the church. Why, the ladies can lead. We can let the women lead us. That is good right there. Y'all young fellas, y'all got to understand women's is equals, and y'all just need to go 50-50. And when I go to the Olive Garden, I ain't got no problem going 50-50 on that there. This nigga don't own nothing, and he never has. You're talking about the jobs you can't get. This old bastard is still sitting up here living off of his damn GM check. for when GM used to pay for a pension. So he has absolutely no problem sitting up here telling you what you don't need. None at all. I got to bring the sermon of freedom to you young cats and let y'all know, hey man, you all you got. To the young black men, the young black women, y'all got to get off that coon stuff that your mama and your grandmama was on. Section 8 was good enough for her. There's not going to be no Section 8 check for your little dumb ass. Your mama could sit here and play that game of flying through life by her draws. There was a house in it for her with a Section 8 voucher. They ain't building no new subdivisions for Section 8 no more. Gentrification is the law of the land. If Bushika sits up here and gets some bastard kids, you are done. You're done. You got food stamps. Congratulations, you got food stamps and no place to take the food. If you sit up here and play them little hoe games, you're done. Your mama could play that and there was a subdivision. There was enough space in them subdivisions for the Section 8 checks. The government ain't building out nothing and the private industry is damn sure not going to do it. You play that game at your own expense. And the expense of your children. And I'm not going to teach your children to respect you for doing dumb stuff. To the young black men, the young black women, y'all got to get together and y'all make that work. You know why? Because y'all are all you got. We're all we got. That's it. The old folk done abandon your ass. The old men are looking to get one last piece of non-black sex before this nigga falls over from cardiac arrest or peripheral arterial disease. And your mama sitting up here singing hymns because ain't nobody called her made her damn phone ring in 40 years since she had to hang up her hoe boots. And you're sitting out here with nothing. And as far as they're concerned, they ain't got nothing and they haven't given you any reason to respect them and they don't give a damn. I'm not going to teach you to do that. I'm not going to teach you to do that. I'm not going to teach you to portray yourselves. To the young folk, we all we got. We all we got. You better recognize that. We all we got. And you better learn to make alliances with each other and everybody who is not on the alliance train, damn them. We all we got. The United States government has made it the legal policy. To my young black people, listen to me, damn it. They have made it the legal policy that non-citizens have more rights than you. The police can't harass non-citizens. They'll get a U.S. attorney prosecuting their whole police department. But the police can murder your black ass and ain't nobody saying nothing. You better wake the hell up and recognize where you really are. And a bunch of y'all are following in your damn granddaddy's pathetic ass footsteps that interracial sexual access and that's it and we all minorities and you think it's a big ass game and nobody sees racism until their ass is put in handcuffs or there's a boot on their necks. Then all of a sudden they see racism. You better see it before it goes that far along. You can't play dumb. These folk ain't playing dumb with you. You can't play dumb. You're not going to get the option of playing stupid. You don't get to play dumb at this. Mark my words about what I'm saying here tonight, that you're going to see a day when they're going to build whole subdivisions. They're going to build whole subdivisions. By illegals, for illegals, while they tell you what you can't get. While they gonna tell your black ass what you can't get, and you just gonna have to leave the state. States that you thought were safe. You're just coming out into the job market. States that you believed you were safe. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna be having a program where I'm gonna be talking to black women who've got advanced degrees, master's degrees, and cannot get a job in their field, never been able to use their degree. Understand what you are going into. Understand where you are at right now. This ain't the future. This is the now. This is the right here and the right now. This is the today. It is the official policy of the United States government that they are now openly elevating illegals over black people. The policy is to elevate every single ethnic group in America except black people, to make sure that black people never progress and never rise, period, for perpetuity. That's where you are right now as young black people. That's where you are today. You better take this seriously. I got dozens of people waiting on the phone lines to talk and everything. We've been on for 3 hours. I'm going to go ahead and shut things down now. You all can see about calling back on another program here. We're going to be doing about that tomorrow night. Like I say, we're going to be talking to black women tomorrow night. I got several guests lined up who are going to talk about their experiences having advanced degrees and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and cannot use them. That is the norm. Why is it that their white counterparts are not in the same boat? Why is it so many of you are, but your white counterparts aren't? We're going to be going into that tomorrow night. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Over 117,000 subscribers and rising. Even though YouTube has us under a shadow ban, they've done everything they can to try to bury our channel, we are still a very large player at this, but we need your help. I need everyone who listens to this program, make sure you share it, share it. YouTube will not recommend it or suggest it. They want to bury it. What's our plan to overcome that? You are the plan. Make sure that you share the Black Channel. We are the Black Media. And if you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, that is blackchannelfilms.com, go there and check out our documentary work. Everyone's been talking about it here tonight. We're coming up at the end of Black History Month, but remember that every day is Black History, so go to our website, blackchannelfilms.com. Check out our documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Ethnic Cleansing American Style, our newest documentary, Race War, all available on sale on Amazon, on DVD, and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on Cash App or PayPal. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it when people show more than just lip service, so thank you very much for doing that. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.